behalf of Kratom consumers.
I can't hear him speaking.
I can you not hear him on the restream?
No.
Public safety and stop bad actors from harming our community. And in this case, the best way to do that is to actually
Can you hear it
target
now?
the real problem. Concentrated synthetic 7-OH products, 7-hydroxymitragynine products, not natural leaf kratom. The ordinance as currently written would criminalize the sale and distribution of all kratom products in the county, as well as any product claiming to be
Can you hear
kratom
it?
like 7-OH. By approving this ordinance as it's currently written, you would include natural kratom leaf products and impose penalties that sweep in responsible consumers and lawful natural products. Natural kratom and concentrated synthetic 7-OH are not the same thing. This is really important. In the interest of time, I know I only have 2 minutes. I'd be pleased to follow up with more details, probably more details than you want to get from me. I encourage you to look to the science and not emotion or hyperbole on this issue. I would also suggest that you look beyond the background memo that you received. It's well-intentioned, but it isn't fully based today on what we know from scientific research and clinical practice. In July of this year, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Food and Drug Administration, thanks.
Hello, I'm Laura Chatham. I'm here to talk to you today about the closing of MHCAN and Housing Matters and the crisis that is brewing. Many folks came in May and June to tell you about how important MHCAN is, and you listened. Thank you so much for that. Now we have an emergency. MHCAN will need emergency funds to reopen. I am told that the MHCAN must invoice the county in arrears. The county must make an exception to this at this time and provide emergency funds, or we will lose this critical resource. Please help. And now Phil Kramer, who took over what used to be a great human services center, is turning Housing Matters into a real estate venture for low-income housing and taking away all the important day services that are so highly needed, especially now when everyone I talk with is losing CalFresh as well. I understand why Housing Matters would rather oversee a real estate venture than provide day services for unhoused people. Housing Matters plans to provide badly needed housing for support for approximately 10% of our county's homeless people as of last bogus point in time count. That is good. But what will happen to the 90% that there is no housing for? What concerns me most is that the closing down of access to toilets. This is obviously a serious public health concern. This decision by Phil Kramer and his gang creates a serious public health problem. We also need drinking water. Remember the Shigella outbreak last year at Harvey West Camp. There were porta potties
Never
at
heard
that
of
camp and the
Shigella.
disease was kept in check. I hate to think what might be coming when the fascists in Washington, D.C. take away our funding
Man, these
if our
people are
local
hardcore.
representatives follow suit and allow Housing Matters to stop providing day services. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello, my name is Laura Marcus, and I'm the CEO of Dientes Community Dental Care. Before I speak on the matter I came here for today, I wanted to say that I'm also a board member at Housing Matters and very sympathetic to the needs of our clients who use the day center. But this is a decision that is wise and heartfelt in order to support a healing community for the 120 residents that'll be served on that campus. I'm here on item 39, which is the county's contract for services with Dientes for our new 5th clinic in Watsonville on Penny Lane. We're really excited about this opportunity to serve 3,000 more
Can you hear it? We just, I don't know. It's not gonna
Unfortunately, I can't attend this afternoon,
show
but I
the
want to
video
remind
right
everyone that there was a lot of time and
on the
resources
Zoom
put
for some
into core
reason, and
funding,
I guess we can't
into the
hear the thing
process,
from
the
the website.
application, the review of those, the
Really
scoring.
annoying.
We've spent probably hundreds of hours. The community deserves county investments in
Well, you can't
data-driven
even see
indicators
anything.
based
You know what
on
I'm saying?
need
It's like
and
just a freaking
facts.
blank
I
screen,
trust this new process will use these
and there's
pillars
no way to
to
fix it.
guide your way. Thank you.
I wonder if it's on their end.
Hello, my name is
It
Brandy Clark,
is.
and I'm a direct sales distributor for
If they
a company
fixed
called
it
Botanic
somehow
Tonics,
in
and
the
we
beginning,
sell a
but
product called Feel Free. It is a kratom product. It also has kava, pineapple juice, and stevia. This is what is considered whole leaf kratom, which, as the gentleman spoke before, there's a big difference between that and what they're making out there now, which is called 7-OH, which is basically like the commercial term for the synthetics. Now, whole leaf is something that can help with aches and pains. It can help with occasional headaches. It can help with occasional like anxiety. Actually took half today because I'm nervous about being here. It also, for me personally, helps with the aches and pains that I've had from being raised on a ranch to CrossFit to car accidents. So I'm able to walk upright. I feel when sciatic comes along, I can feel it and it helps out headaches. Menopause helps anything, a lot of various ailments that I have personally. So I've used this product for 2.5 years. I actually sell this product now for 2.5 years. I did not realize that kratom could be something that was so helpful. I also didn't know that the other players, the bad actors the gentleman was speaking about, have come out, and I have seen some effects of the 7-OH, which is the synthetics. So leaf kratom is with ancients. It's been around for centuries. It has been Southeast Asia. It has been basically communities have been built upon it because of this product. So kratom in itself, I think the knowledge of that it's too broad when you say that. You have to look at the 7-hydroxymitronine, which in kratom is basically untraceable. It's when you adulterate it and you pull it out, that's when you're getting the products that are where everyone's seeing the problems today. The leaf kratom itself is not the issue. It's the 7-OH, it's the synthetics. So please consider that when you do your vote.
Members of the community, I'm Robert Norris. I wish you were giving immediate time to the item that you took up the consent agenda regarding vehicular abandonment, but that's fine. I'll speak about it after first giving a salute out to Laura Chatham, who spoke about important issues around MH-CAN and the infamous funding matters, closure of services. They call themselves funding matters, housing matters. I call them funding matters because that seems to be their priorities. But regarding the issue of this vehicular abandonment stuff, in 2016, the Coastal Commission denied
dude,
Santa Cruz City's proposed
I
nighttime
think I figured it
citywide
out.
ban
Hold
on
Okay,
oversized
I was just
RV
gonna say,
parking
go
in
to
20. I'm
YouTube.
Robert
Hold on.
Norris. I
Can you
wish
hear it
you
now?
were giving immediate
Yeah, I can
time
hear
to
it.
the item
Okay.
that you took up the consent agenda regarding
Okay.
vehicular
They're just in the
abandonment, but
little top
that's
corner.
fine. I'll speak about it after first giving a salute out to Laura Chatham, who spoke about important issues around MH-CAN and the infamous funding matters, closure of services. They call themselves funding matters, housing matters. I call them funding matters because
I
that
had
seems
it
to
on
be their
mute, dude.
priorities. But regarding the issue of this vehicular abandonment stuff, in 2016, the Coastal Commission denied Santa Cruz City's proposed nighttime citywide ban on oversized RV parking. In 2022, it again refused to rubber stamp a similar attack on homeless survival vehicles. Only with the city's pilot storage vehicle plan in 2023, when there was a place for these vehicles to go, was approval granted. This board is not doing that. This board is first giving extra power to the sheriffs to tow abandoned vehicles that aren't necessarily abandoned, because a lot of the complaints that come from residents who are concerned about the presence of the vehicles in the neighborhood because they're anxious about homeless people who have no alternative but to live and survive in their vehicles. This, as we know, of course, is counterproductive for both the county and the public, because it puts those people, when those vehicles are removed, it puts those vehicles into, it puts the people into the streets, and they're going to be shitting and pissing, and in fact, being on the streets, living and dying on the streets, which we see happening in growing numbers now. This needs to be re-examined to have some real data-driven stuff from the people involved, as well as from real homeless people and services, which I don't think was included in the staff report other than referentially referred to. Thank you.
The lag is so bad.
Hello, my name is Nicolina Ammerman. I've been working with the plant Kratom for the last 15 years. I'm here to speak on that as well. And I just want you to consider how much this plant has helped our community directly. Over the 15 years, there's been hundreds, maybe even thousands at this point, of people that I've had direct stories from about how this plant has helped them in their lives. A lot of these people are working class in the community. A lot of them are doctors and nurses. They get tested for opiates. They can't take them on the job, but they're in crippling pain from doing surgeries on people for many years. I can't place any names, but these are people that are important in our community that rely on this plant for natural pain relief. Majority of the people I work with are over the age of 50 that use this plant responsibly. It is a natural pain reliever. It's also huge in harm reduction. Countless experiences with college students over the years who are addicted to Adderall and come in crying and desperate for help trying to get off of this pharmaceutical, and they're not getting any assistance from their doctors. A lot of them having health issues after taking these pharmaceutical drugs for several years. I currently have an employee who's taking a sick leave from being on Adderall for 6 years and is now having major health complications. Natural kratom leaf is a natural plant. It's a natural means to helping in health issues. And I don't think that people's choices should be taken away, myself included. I don't like relying on pharmaceutical pain medication. I have bad reactions from it. I don't want to lose the option of having a natural alternative. And I just think it's really important to consider the plant's natural form, as well as what everyone else has mentioned, the 7-OH is very different. Thank you so much.
Hello, supervisors. My name is Kayla Traber, and I work for Gray Bears. I'm here today to just thank you for your continued efforts in regards to item 27 on the consent agenda regarding core funding. Safety net services right now need your support now more than ever. In a recent survey at Gray Bears, we found that individuals receiving support from our market had a 72% cases of having at least one indication of food insecurity. So that was before recent funding cuts and recent challenges to our food systems. So we just thank you for taking a considerate and thoughtful approach towards revising this really critical funding support for our nonprofits that really need it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we have anybody online?
Yes, Chair. Carol, your microphone's now available.
Hi, this is Carol Bjorn, and I wanted to repeat my request that I made at the last meeting that any battery energy storage facility be made out of non-flammable material. So there were quite a few of us at the most recent Watsonville City Council meeting, and it was really quite shocking that the mayor would not allow public comment regarding Max Christian's presentation for the lithium battery energy storage facility. And it's odd because public comment was omitted from the environment on the commission's report to you guys, to the board. So if you guys had a great product here with the lithium batteries, there would be no need to censor the public comment. So it really raises a lot of red flags for all of us, why this isn't an open process, why our government officials are not receiving public comment, why we're not looking at non-flammable battery energy storage solutions, because they are available. John Hassar at Invinity is one option. You guys can find him on LinkedIn. It's not difficult. They have several facilities already up and running around the world. And literally, California is going to be so far behind the rest of the world if we continue with the lithium battery. They tend to explode and burn up. It's not a sustainable solution. And so I'm really looking forward to meeting with Felipe on Monday regarding the ordinance. And again, we're going to really ask and demand that it be a non-flammable solution in that ordinance. And we can talk about the proposed site already. I was shocked to find out that New Leaf had already talked to the property owner in 2019. I mean, what is going on that we're not being told?
Call in user one, your microphone's now available.
Marilyn Garrett, thanks to Carol Bjorn's comments that I would like to see you follow her recommendations. I'm looking at the most recent Aptos Times where it says, excuse me, EPA oversees extensive battery removal at Moss Landing after 2025 fire. That picture's worth 1,000 words. And should the county approve these battery sites in our county, we can expect the same thing, as a history of fires and toxicity is well documented. And where are they planning to take this debris? To landfill in Manteca, about 135 miles northeast of Monterey. There's no way this can be made safe. It has to be prohibited in the first place. It's unacceptable risk to the community, as the Central Water District attorneys have written to you in a statement. And I'm also looking at an article from 2010, PG&E to buy out more homeowners from the Hinkley chromium-6 disaster, and talks about an underground plume. This toxicity from these sources like PG&E, New Leaf, etc., cannot be made safe. Do not approve these battery sites in our county. Thank you.
John, your microphone's now available.
Thank you. I'm John Schenholzer. I'm the Advocacy Director for American Veterans for Kratom Safe. And addressing the Kratom situation, you know, I'm also a person in long-term recovery from addiction. I've been clean and sober over 43 years. I'm a pioneer in the peer recovery support service provided, you know, not only in Virginia, but nationwide. And I've studied Kratom for over 12 years now. And I've probably come in contact with 11,000 alumni that came through our recovery center I founded. And I just can't tell you the value of Kratom in 2 minutes. Hundreds of lives have been saved by using that natural Kratom leaf product. And for the last 10 years, I've helped so many addicts, alcoholics, other drug addicts pivot from the one pill kill to FDA regulatory packaged kratom powder product. And John Hopkins verified that very few people actually get addicted to the plant product, less than 3%, of which I've seen 2 people in all these years actually have a problem with the powder, and they both got off of it. Now, the 7-OH is where the problem comes in. All of our real problems, they'll go away overnight by banning 7-OH. 5 tablets of 7-OH equal 10 gallons of powder leaf. Powder leaf has a trace amount of 7-OH. So there's where the problem lies. It's those adulterated products, the 7-OH products. And you know, you got to remember that leaf, that natural leaf, it's a plant, for God's sake. It's not a chemical, and it's here for a reason. And you just, you know, you're going to felonize these people in the long run. You're adding a tool for the criminal justice toolbox, and that's the last thing we need during this, you know, addiction epidemic. So please don't ban natural leaf kratom. Thank you.
Chris, your microphone's now available.
Thank you. Good morning, supervisors. This is Chris Berry, City of Santa Cruz Watershed Manager. I just wanted to thank you, and especially Supervisor Cummings' office, for issuing the proclamation for Bonnie Doon Bob Pewarzik and naming October 21st, 2025 as Bonnie Doon Bob Pewarzik Appreciation Day in Santa Cruz County. As you know, Bob was a great historian and storyteller. As a watershed manager, I'm increasingly aware that our history is really important to know when trying to understand how our watersheds function and the issues that are affecting them. Also, as you know, Santa Cruz County's history is very is fascinating and colorful. So over the years, I've known Bob for 30 plus years. It was great to hear his stories and learn about the watersheds. He was also a great neighbor to the city of Santa Cruz, who had property next door. And a mentor and friend. We shared roots in New England and had endless conversations about history, both here in Santa Cruz and back there. We also shared a fascination with the complex Bonnie Doon hydrology that literally is right there on Bob's property. There's a sinkhole in Laguna Creek right there. To that point, Bob was instrumental in supporting several policy actions taken by the board regarding karst groundwater protection in Bonnie Doon. Thereby benefiting nearly 100,000 City of Santa Cruz water customers, his Bonnie Doon neighbors, and the unique biota that's also dependent on that water downstream. Bob made our community richer, and we're fortunate to have had his presence in our watersheds for so many years. So thanks again for your acknowledgement of him on this special day.
Jen, your microphone's now available.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Great. Okay. So my name is Jen Mercier. I'm a mother, a small business owner, and a holistic health mentor. I'm here to speak on agenda item number 12. I'm actually relatively confused at why we're here speaking on this when this you have already decriminalized psychedelics. So something that I find so mild blows my mind, but here we are. So just wanted to share a little bit about my personal story. After undergoing several emergency surgeries, I was left in debilitating pain, and I refused to use pharmaceuticals. I have terrible reactions, and as we know, they have destroyed lives. I use whole leaf natural kratom, and it helps manage pain, stay functional, and the best part is it's not inebriating. So realistically, this is about science, compassion, and common sense. World-renowned experts like Dr. Marilyn Hustis, Dr. Christopher McCurdy, Dr. Jack Henningfield, amongst countless others, have testified about kratom's therapeutic potential. Over and over again, these respected researchers, which is in toxicology, pharmacology, and addiction medicine, show that their findings of kratom truly do offer relief from chronic pain, anxiety, help with opioid withdrawal, and they even have a lower risk profile than prescription drugs. The World Health Organization has a comprehensive report. It concluded that there's no evidence that kratom causes widespread harm. And even in fact, my favorite, on page 39 of the report, it clearly states that kratom was not a causal factor in most associated deaths. It's, you know, either synthetics or polydrug use, all of that sort of stuff. Of course, regulation just makes sense. Quality control, education is great. It sounds to me like, you know, you guys kind of have that under wraps with the natural world. So I would love to see education and proper regulations. This is a tool that is saving lives. You've heard from several people already today. Please listen to the science, not fear. Regulate responsibly. And I have several position papers that I'm going to email along for all of you to indulge in. So thank you.
Misty, your microphone's now available.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Misty Brown, and I'm a loud and proud, fierce kratom advocate from Colorado, which is also considered a mini California over here. I would like to read y'all my testimony on how whole leaf kratom saved my life, not synthetic 7-OH. From 2008 to 2019, I lived in the grip of FDA-approved pain pills, benzos, and muscle relaxers prescribed for my degenerative disc disease. For 11 years, chronic pain management fueled my addictions. It started off as a dependency, then slowly slid into addiction. In April of 2019, I was dismissed from my clinic after failing a required pill count. I was 11 pills short, and my usual drug dealers didn't have any pink Oxy 10s. Cut off from prescriptions, I turned to the streets. While searching for another pain management doctor, I slid into cocaine use. Then in June of 2019, while enduring cocaine withdrawal, I stumbled across the documentary A Leaf of Faith. That moment changed everything. The next day, I began my journey with whole leaf kratom, not synthetic 7-OH. Kratom quieted the relentless cravings, the voice that always whispered, one more pill, one more snort, one more escape. It gave me space to address the deeper reasons behind my addiction. I was able to slide my way out of chaotic substance abuse and misuse. I have not returned to pain management in over 6.5 years. Today, I'm no longer trapped. I am a functioning member of society again. I'm a thriving mother again, a tax-paying citizen, and a proud first-time grandma. Most importantly, I'm no longer a burden to my kids. I will be forever grateful that I found safe, lab-tested, whole leaf kratom. Now I share my story, knowledge, and the science behind it to help others facing addiction, chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. Mind you guys, I keep saying whole leaf kratom. Whole leaf kratom is totally different than synthetic 7-OH. If you're having problems in your community, I guarantee you it's from synthetic 7-OH. Do what you will with that. But that is my testimony, and thank you for allowing me to testify.
Sandra, your microphone's now available.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sandra Dreisbach. I have an MA PhD in ethics, ethical decision making. I taught at University of California, Santa Cruz for more than a decade in bioethics, and I'm here to advocate for plant leaf kratom, as well as for general considered decentralized and advocacy here. I can tell you, at least from my education experience as an advocate in both psychedelics and plant medicine, that whole leaf kratom is not the issue, as many other advocates have spoken up here. It is the synthetic, and we need to make due consideration for the difference between synthetics and natural substances. It is true that Santa Cruz City is decriminalized, but not the Santa Cruz County. So I'd also like to advocate for more general decriminalization, because having a criminal penalty, obviously there's still a criminal penalty associated with these substances, but not kratom. And it is life-saving. It does make a difference in people's lives. There isn't a toxicity for plant leaf kratom. They will, even if people are using it to get off of as part of a substance abuse pathway, it's a step in the process. It's not the whole solution. But I just want you to know that, you would be doing the right thing, in my humble opinion, to help preserve plant use. And you could cause a significant harm to the community. As a living member here in Boulder Creek for the past couple of decades. Thank you for your time. I also cede the rest of my time. Much love to you. Good luck.
Susan, your microphone's now available.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I only have 2 minutes, so I just want to introduce myself. My name's Susan Cave. I live actually in Florida, and I wanted to tell you the story of my son and his addiction and dependence on kratom. He was only 32 years old when he died. He's been gone 18 months. No history of drug use or abuse or anything like that. He was a hardworking man and had a family. But because I've only got limited time, I've learned a lot. I'm also a member of Kratom Danger Awareness Group. I want to tell you why regulating kratom won't work and why raw leaf kratom is not any different from synthetics like 7-OH, okay? One, kratom does not have a safety profile or standardized dosing. Two, labels and age restrictions do not change kratom's pharmacology. Three, states that have passed regulation laws like Nevada and Arizona continue to see kratom-involved deaths. Four, raw kratom alone causes deaths, as proven by toxicology reports and medical examiner reports. People say they're not out there, but they most definitely, people are dying from raw kratom, as did my son. Five, there are over 40 alkaloids in raw kratom and still not a complete understanding of the two main alkaloids, which are mitragynine and 7-OH or 7-hydroxymitragynine. Six, the kratom plant and products made from kratom are extremely variable in their makeup. Every leaf is different depending on where it's grown overseas, the environmental growing conditions, how it's harvested, how long it's cured, how long it's allowed to ferment, and the manufacturer's processing technique. Seven, which is a very important, seven's important. Mitragynine found in the
Jennifer, your microphone's now available.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Gillis, and I've been a kratom consumer and advocate for the last 6 years. I just want to share my story on the impact kratom has had on my life. 19 years ago, I was diagnosed with transverse myelitis. This came not only with many physical limitations, but I became a lifelong chronic pain patient. For 13 years, I utilized various pain management options, including prescription medications that help me be able to function daily. Due to circumstances like DEA cutbacks and ever-changing regulations, I was eventually unable to get my pain medications that I had relied upon for so long. In May of 2019, I found whole leaf kratom, and I have been a responsible kratom consumer for the last 6 years. I can get out of bed, I can run errands, I can attend school functions. Even with my physical limitations, I can live a somewhat normal life because my pain is being managed. And I know that there are many others who have a similar story to mine. Kratom has been a lifeline for people like me. I absolutely support regulations like age requirements, lab testing, and proper labeling to ensure that consumers are kept safe. But additionally, I would like to see more education around the difference between natural whole leaf kratom versus semi-synthetic 7-OH products being marketed as kratom. It has been encouraging to see even the FDA has stepped in not only to educate the public on the distinction, but warn about the risks of 7-OH. They have made it clear their concern is with 7-OH products and not whole leaf kratom. Although I live in Tennessee, I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak today and be the voice for the chronic pain community in Santa Cruz who are unable to be here and speak for themselves. Thank you so much for your time.
Drea, your microphone's now available. Drea.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, my name is Drea, and I'm here to speak on item 12. I've used Kratom for over a decade. Kratom has been a positive and life-changing part of my wellness journey. It's a natural plant from the coffee family that helps me manage EDS, CRPS, CPTSD, major depression, and panic disorder. It allows me to avoid the harsh side effects that I've experienced from prescription drugs. Research from Johns Hopkins University and the University of Florida shows that kratom's natural compounds work differently from opioids. They can relieve pain and improve mood without the dangerous risk of respiratory failure. Studies in drug and alcohol dependence also found that kratom has a low potential for abuse and can even help people reduce dependence on harmful substances. Data from the CDC and the National Institute on Drug Abuse confirms that deaths linked solely to kratom are extremely rare. Most cases involve other drugs or contaminants. That's why I believe regulation, not prohibition, is the responsible way to go about this, requiring testing and labeling so products are safe and adults can make informed decisions. For me and millions of others, kratom has meant a better, healthier quality of life. People, please listen to the science and to the people who use it responsibly every day. And another concern of mine is the fact that alcohol has remained easily accessible while being responsible for tens of millions of deaths globally. These deaths have been attributable to alcohol since 2010, very likely more than 30 million, based on the annual scales involved. Kids are able to get access to alcohol. Alcohol withdrawal is deadly, whereas discontinuing kratom use is not. I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Laura, your microphone is now available.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Laura Romney, and I'm a patient with trigeminal neuralgia. I'm also the president of a 501c3 called the International Plant and Herbal Alliance. Trigeminal neuralgia is a disease that causes severe facial nerve pain that never stops. And because of this, I've been consuming kratom successfully for 8 years. It has truly been life-changing. Please do not ban kratom. Instead, please responsibly regulate so it is adult use only, properly labeled with GMP standards, and not packaged to be attractive to children, and regulation on the amount of 7-OH allowed in the product. What should be taken off your store shelves is 7-OH. Kratom is not natural kratom. Please do not assume these products are the same. Even the FDA and the Health and Human Services at their July 29th press conference have distinguished between the two. You should follow their advice and schedule 7-OH and not natural kratom. 7-OH products have shown in animal studies they can suppress breathing, and they have had no science prior to market entry. Kratom, on the other hand, has hundreds of scientific studies conducted by Johns Hopkins University and the University of Florida, and even the FDA to back its safety and efficacy. They conduct their own single ascending dose study that showed that kratom is safe. They actually gave people 25 capsules in a 12-minute period or a 5-minute period, and all that they experienced was nausea. Look to the good regulation that has been passed in California. Orange County has recently passed excellent regulation. Laguna Niguel and Riverside have drafted and should pass good regulation very soon. In fact, tonight even is the Laguna Niguel hearing. So natural kratom is regulated, and that 7-OH is banned. Irvine, which is close to you guys, recently voted to table the issue of a ban based on all of the science, and Ventura County is now working on good regulation. Please take advantage of any additional offer I've given you for more education. By regulating and not scheduling kratom, you are showing those that rely on kratom to treat their pain, anxiety.
Call-in guest ending in 000. Your microphone is now available.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Amazing
We're
job,
having a hard
Drea.
time hearing you. It's very faint.
Hello?
Yeah, awesome
Can you hear
job.
me?
And Laura, you too,
That's a
if
little
you're
better.
watching.
Okay, I'll speak up then. Thank you. This is Becky Steinbrunner. I want to point out I had difficulty joining this morning. The phone number on the agenda online is incorrect. Thankfully, the office patched me through. I want to speak first on consent items 40 and 41. Do not accept the final write-off of the Aptos Village Project subdivision. They have not fulfilled or complied with all of the permit conditions of approval. There is no kiosk as was required for them to build for the Nicene Mark State Park. There is no active recreation site at the recreation space at the site. They cannot do this because they are not fulfilling their requirements of permit approval. Please Supervisor DeSerpa, let us build with the volunteers a pump track again on this park parcel that would fulfill the active recreation piece. So do not approve consent 40 and 41. Finally, I agree with all of those speakers before me regarding the battery energy storage project at 19 Minto Road and the ordinance. I do not believe, as Max Christian from New Leaf has said, that 19 Minto Road is the only viable place in the county. The county has not even considered the site next to the large PG&E substation up on Empire Grade Road next to the CAL FIRE Training Center. This has to be analyzed. I am in favor of it going to the state because they will require an EIR. This county does not have a good record, and what has happened at Aptos Village project is a perfect example of the county not fulfilling a full EIR on huge projects.
I am so proud of everybody who's
Allison, your
testified so
microphone is now
far.
available.
Yeah,
Except for one person.
amazing.
Good afternoon. Well, I guess good morning for you guys. My name is Allison Smith, and I am the Director of Government Affairs for the Global Kratom Coalition. We are an alliance of consumers, scientific experts, and industry leaders who are looking to enact regulations for safe and regulated natural kratom. As said before me, natural kratom is a leaf botanical from Southeast Asia that has centuries of safe traditional use and at least 50 years of safe use in the United States. There are a plethora of preclinical and clinical studies to back this up, including the FDA single ascending dose that was conducted in 2024, which demonstrated that natural kratom leaf is highly tolerable in humans, even at serving times 6 times higher than the normal serving that's consumed. What truly threatens the public are these novel, dangerous, concentrated synthetic products, such as concentrated 7-OH, that are incorrectly marketed as natural kratom. We urge the city of Santa Cruz to follow the model that has been demonstrated in other municipalities in California. Concentrated synthetic 7-OH is not natural kratom leaf. We need a balanced approach that has been proven, such as in Orange County, Ventura, and being moved forward in Riverside and Laguna Niguel. Even Irvine, which proposed an all-form ban, recognized that the distinction of the two products and dropped it in favor of regulation to target synthetic derivatives. This demonstrates that sensible science-based policy works by protecting consumers while eliminating dangerous synthetic products from the marketplace. We share the same goal: protecting public safety and stopping bad actors. However, the best way to do that is to target the problem. Concentrated synthetic 7-OH products, not natural kratom leaf products. I thank you all for your concern, and I welcome the opportunity to bring additional scientific studies, factual reports, and kratom experts to your attention to help aid in the decision-making of your process. Thank you.
Heidi, your microphone's now available.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Dr. Heidi Sikora. I'm a retired nurse practitioner and healthcare executive. As a nurse practitioner, I served very vulnerable and complex adult and geriatric patients. This gave me a good understanding of the challenges of balancing the benefits and harms of pharmaceuticals, over-the-counter meds, and herbal supplements. Now I'm a writer and educator for patient-centered options to natural plant products, including kratom. I personally have used whole leaf kratom safely for over 7 years to manage pain from multiple rare neurological disorders, including Chiari malformation and spinal tethered spinal cord. I had terrible reactions to the standard pharmaceuticals, which I had seen in so many of my vulnerable patients. But the natural kratom leaf allowed me to regain my health, restore function, and enjoy time with my grandchildren. I actually began advocating for kratom regulation after recommending it to a veteran friend who struggled with severe pain and PTSD from the Gulf War. It helped him so much that his young son looked up at me and said, "Thank you for giving us our daddy back." Kratom restored the function of the entire family, and that's the power of the natural kratom leaf. Since then, I've seen so many others who were helped by the natural kratom leaf for chronic pain, PTSD, anxiety, and addiction. Many say it's life savings. life-saving. I support appropriate regulations to ensure access to safe, quality, whole leaf kratom products, and this can be done through a local ordinance. It's important to understand that kratom is a natural plant, has been used safely for centuries, but as many others have already said, the issue is 7-hydroxymetragenine. It's a lab-made concentrate of a trace metabolite. It's nothing like kratom. The FDA has warned that products like these are concentrated 7-OH.
Call-in user ending in 628, your microphone's now available.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rich Bucky. I'm an Aptos. I'd like to read again from a brief section of The Unfortunate Truth About Vaccines by Leon Kennero, a local author. Here's a section called Other Critics of Vaccinations. Dr. Hawden, MD, an English doctor, wrote a book in 1896 called The Case Against Vaccinations. He said, quote, since the passage of the United Kingdom Compulsory Vaccination Act of 1853, we've had no less than 3 distinct epidemics. In 1857 to 59, we had more than 14,000 deaths from smallpox. In 1863 to 1865, the epidemic reached 20,000 deaths, and between 1871 and 72, there were 44,800 deaths. Stricter enforcement led to the highest vaccinate rate ever increased in England in 1871. Although these people were dying from smallpox, even though there was a 97.5% compliance rate that coincided with England's worst smallpox epidemic. In other words, the smallpox vaccine did not work and actually caused more deaths than the disease itself. What did make a difference was the improvement in sanitation and the isolation of those infected. Here's another quote by Dr. Hawden. He said, he quoted a Dr. Druitt, another English doctor, who said, you may just as well try and stop a smallpox epidemic by vaccinations as to prevent a thunderstorm with an umbrella. You may have heard of Mahatma Gandhi. In 1921, he said, quote, vaccination is a barbarous practice and one of the most fatal of all the delusions current in our time. Conscientious objectors to vaccination should stand alone if need be against the whole world.
Susan, your microphone's available.
We've gone over the hour. I think we're going to be changing the time to 1 minute for the remaining callers.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Susan Eppard. My 22-year-old son, Matthew, died from kratom. He died from the whole leaf kratom powder, the least potent form of kratom available in the United States. It caused him to have a seizure, go into cardiac arrest, and die on his kitchen floor in front of his girlfriend. His toxicology showed he died from the toxic effects of metragenine, an alkaloid found only in kratom. He had no prescription drugs, no street drugs, nor alcohol in his system when he died. His autopsy showed he had no underlying health conditions. He did not die from 7-OH. Matthew died November 10th, 2021, prior to 2023, when 7-OH hit the market. Matthew thought kratom was a great herb for energy and had no idea how addictive it was until it was too late, nor did he believe it could kill him. This is a horrible disclaimers from the GMP leading kratom dealers website. It said public health authorities and U.S. and internationally also indicate that short or long-term kratom use may be associated with one or more of the following adverse reactions: nervousness, agitation, confusion, aggression, hallucinations, delusions, tremors, sleeplessness, drowsiness, lethargy, sedation, loss of libido, constipation, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, liver toxicity, tachycardia, hypertension, respiratory depression, respiratory arrest, cardiac arrest, renal failure, seizures, coma, and death. And that is from their very own website, the leading kratom dealer. And Dr. Christopher McCurdy, the leading scientist who studies kratom, testified that it's a dirty drug and should not be sold out of gas stations. Kratom studies are being conducted to be used as pharmaceuticals, not to be sold to our children out of a gas station or a convenience store. Kratom dealers will lead you to believe that natural kratom powder is safe, but most of the people that I know in a group that I'm in, where hundreds of people have lost loved ones to kratom, did not die from 7-OH. They died from
McCurdy calling it a dirty drug meant pharmacology wise.
Chair, I'd
Yeah.
like to take one moment to switch out the
Wow.
cameras, please.
Yeah.
It's a scientist term.
Chair, it's been an hour. One option that you have is to postpone the remainder of public comment to after the swearing in. There's a lot of people here who have come for the swearing in process. So it's just an option for you to consider. Do you know how many speakers we have?
Currently, there are 6 additional individuals with their hands raised online.
Okay, I think they're probably all item 12, but we will wait till either the end or if they can speak on item 12.
Thank you.
So they're gonna wait now?
With that, we'll bring it back to the board, see if there's any questions on consent or
I think
comments.
so.
Representative Martinez?
Okay, Jordan
Thank you,
wants us to let
Chair.
him know when they go
Good
back.
morning, everybody, and thank you
Okay.
to everybody who took the time to call in today. Welcome to the 5th District. It's wonderful to see all of you here in the city of Scotts Valley, and want to thank the city of Scotts Valley for welcoming us here. I also want to note for those standing in the back, we have a number of chairs up here in the front if you'd like to join us standing for a while. I only have one comment on the consent agenda today, and that is item number 39, related to the multi-year rate agreement with Dientes Community Dental Care. I want to thank Dientes for going through the process to add space for 3,000 new patients in the South County region. We know that we continue to have a gap in oral health access, so this will really help with that. And I want to thank our leaders at HSA for helping to navigate this contract process, because at a time when we're seeing a reduction in public health access, this is a really exciting opportunity to expand services. So thank you for the efforts on that. That concludes my comments on the consent agenda.
Supervisor Koenig?
Thank you. Yeah, just a few brief comments on item 21, easement acquisitions for segment 12, and item 22, acquisition of May Avenue. I just want to thank General Services and the Real Property Division for their work on both these items, and
I think Jordan was wanting
we
to
have a
speak.
permanent home for our public defender's office. On item 37, the behavioral health contract with the County Office of Education, I just want to thank the County Office of Education and Health Services Agency for ensuring this continued funding for vital behavioral health services for students. And on item 46, ratifying the contract for Old Santa Cruz Highway storm damage repair projects. I just want to thank
You said
Community
there were
Development and
6 people
Infrastructure for
still, or was
continuing
that
to
for
chip away
the 19
at all
number?
of the
There
storm
were
damage
6
repair
people left.
projects throughout our county,
Okay.
and especially this vital one on Old Santa Cruz Highway. Thank you.
Supervisor Cummings? Supervisor Serpell?
Thank you. Item 24, the next generation countywide radio system. Looking forward to getting the new radio system installed. Thank you very much to all who worked on it. And I'm hopeful if new towers go up, we'll have the opportunity to provide even increased connectivity for the citizens in our rural areas. Item 25, congratulations to Karen Lane for her appointment to our Childhood Advisory Council. Longtime principal and child development specialist in the Pajaro Valley. We're very happy to add her on behalf of District 2 to that council. Item 26, Natalie Stott is a transition age youth representative now to the Behavioral Health Advisory. I want to thank her for her interest and welcome her to the Behavioral Health Advisory team. Item number 27, thank you to my colleague, Supervisor Cummings and his staff for their interest and work on the core subcommittee.
Oh,
and
after
look forward
15.3.
to continuing work on that for such an important funding source to our community and safety nets.
They just said
Number
that
40,
they're
finally,
going to take public
congratulations
comment
to
right
Aptos
after
Village
they
on the
do
completion of phase
agenda
1 and 2 in the village
15.3.
plan.
They'll
There
go
is
back
a
to
little
public
park
comment
parcel
for item
there,
12.
which the county has no jurisdiction over, and I'm hoping that it will be used for the highest interest of the community. Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank the public for speaking, and I want to clarify that public comment will continue after item 15.3 and item 12, if they're going to speak on item 12, the kratom item. With that, I would like to see if our board would
That's
entertain a
cool
motion.
that they're letting people.
Somebody's coming.
speak.
I'll move consent with the exception of items numbers 19, 27, and 28.
I just
Those are the ones we
retweeted
pulled?
it,
Yep.
let people know.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Cummings and the second from Supervisor Martinez. If we can take roll call vote.
Can you put that in the
Supervisor
extra,
Koenig?
please?
Aye.
Martinez,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
DeSerpa. Aye. And Hernandez.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Next, I think the item that we're all waiting for here today. We have the next item on the agenda, number 7, to consider the appointment of Nicole Coburn. The agenda item is for the position of Santa Cruz County CEO and take all related actions. I'll turn it over to Ajita Patel, Director of Human Services, for the presentation. Oh, turn it on.
For the record, Ajita Patel, Human Resources Director. Good morning, Chair Hernandez and members of the board. The Board of Supervisors recently engaged in a nationwide search to select the next county executive officer for the County of Santa Cruz. A hiring subcommittee was formed with Chair Hernandez and Vice Chair Martinez, who worked closely with the Human Resources team to develop and launch a search. A national search was conducted, yielding 139 applicants. The hiring process included a 2-day selection process with the full board, as well as an interview with a technical panel composed of community stakeholders. The board unanimously selected Nicole Coburn to move forward in the hiring process to become the county's next executive officer. Under county personnel regulations, Ms. Coburn has agreed to accept a Step 6 appointment at the hourly rate of $169.42 for an annual salary of $352,393. The benefits package is also consistent with that which is paid to other executive managers pursuant to the personnel regulations. Ms. Coburn's anticipated start date will be October 25th. Ms. Coburn has served as the Assistant County Executive Officer since 2017 and brings more than 2 decades of public service, fiscal leadership, and deep community connection to the role. That concludes my comments, and I will return the item back to the board.
Thank you. We'll now begin the oath of office. If we can come up here to the front, facing this way, to the flag. We're going to bring back.
Chair, you should first take public comment, and then after you vote to do the appointment, then we'll swear in.
Sorry, I was getting carried away already.
Yes.
I was excited about this. So we'll open it up for the public for comments. Right here in the back.
Yeah, my name is still James Ewing Whitman. I'm recalling on August 19th during the meeting in the afternoon, agenda item number 11, the strategic plan 2018 to 2024, 2024 to 2032, where they felt that it was 85% completed and there were over 469 objectives. So, you know, I guess I'll just say it again. You stand outside this building, you don't see a U.S. or California flag with the gold maritime admiralty law pirate fringe. It means something very different. So I had mentioned seditious conspiracy and misprision of treason. This nation was founded as a constitutional republic. And grotesque what's going on. The elected officials, including sheriff, are under the wing of an internationally controlled Rockefeller syndicate. That's what's going on here. It's 48 seconds. So there's a few books that have been written by Joe Hyndman, The Metrocrats, Regionalism, and Non-Law Governments Are Destroying the United States. Read the first part of this. For more than 15 years, Joe Hyndman has been an unyielding opponent to the alien ideas that have been turning our self-government of Americans into a grotesque replica of old world divine rights and rulers. You know, once again, at the No Kings, whatever that was, people are upset with the current, Jesuit, Zionist, Bolshevik, Nazi, Donald J. Trump as being some kind of a king. You know, what kind of confidentiality agreements have these elected officials undertaken to be under the control? Thank you.
I don't know if they just mean public comments from people there in person. Or Zoom, I don't know.
Kim Namba of Watsonville. I just wanted to congratulate Nicole on
I think
her
this is public
appointment.
comment on that
And
other thing that they were
having
waiting
worked at the
on. You know, the
county,
one, the
I
beginning,
can say
I
that
think.
she's always been a pleasure to work with and has a very good reputation of working well with everyone. And that is very important in building bridges. Thank you.
Shoot. I hate that that covers it up.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. On behalf of the County Office of Education, well, my name is Ferris Sabah. I serve as your County Superintendent of Schools, and I'd like to start with gratitude for Carlos Palacios and his leadership. I feel like his partnership and the skill that he has shown as our CAO has been outstanding, and we are very happy for him. In this moment, as Nicole Coburn gets sworn in, or that you make the decision to approve her and soon to be sworn in, I just want to say how grateful I am to have another partner to work with us across the county on behalf of students, on behalf of youth, on behalf of all our families. Nicole has been inspiring in her leadership, as Carlos has as well, and we look forward to many years of partnership and great work on behalf of the community. So congratulations, Nicole.
Anyone online?
At this time, if you would be so kind for folks who are online, if you are here to speak on a different item, I would ask that you please lower your hand until the time that we either resume general comment or reach the item you wish to speak on. But if you do want to speak on this item, which is agenda item 7, please leave your hand up and we will call on you. Thank you.
Yeah, because Kratom's not till after item 15.
Call-in user ending in 204, your microphone's now available. And for call-in users, it's *6 to mute or unmute yourself. I'm going to move to the next speaker. Call-in user 1, your microphone's now available.
Dude, this lady sounds like my Aunt Geneva, dude. My great Aunt Geneva. She had Parkinson's and it was hard. It sounded like she was
Marilyn Garrett,
hard
I
for
would
the
like
talk.
to welcome you, and boy, you have your hands full, I understand. I'd like to quote the Aptos Times article about you, titled Coburn.
Yeah, Dre,
County
after they get done
Board's
with,
executive officer.
they said it
This
would be right after
little
the
paragraph,
agenda
Coburn,
number
who spent part of her
15.3 or something.
childhood
So
living
yeah,
in
if
Yosemite
anybody wants to
National
call in,
Park.
they can
Boy,
still
how
call
lucky
in.
you were.
And then when
That's
they
my
call on
comment.
agenda number
And
12
the
again,
Sierra
which is
Foothill
Franklin,
said
they're
her
going to ask for
upbringing installed
public
in
comments
her
again.
a strong sense of public service and environmental stewardship. values that have guided her
I
throughout
hope that made
her
sense because I feel
career.
like I did not make sense.
And
I feel like
as
I'm
a
still like half asleep, man. I don't
decades-long
know.
citizen health and environmental
It's time to rally up the troops again.
advocate
Yeah.
and retired teacher, teaching in pesticide-laden Watsonville, I have serious recommendations for you to advocate for genuine public well-being. First, require non-toxic, organic, ecological agriculture and
I'm just adding
ban
like I have the
toxic
Zoom link at the
pesticides.
bottom and
Two,
then telephone number if people want to call in by telephone.
prohibit the lithium-ion battery sites as an
This one has the web ID to the
unacceptable
Zoom and the telephone.
environmental and health hazard.
But I would not
Three,
raise, oh no, actually. let me-
cell phones, cell towers, Wi-Fi, wireless, smart meters, 5G, etc., emit microwave radio frequency radiation and endanger the public. In fact, environmental research shows this radiation causes cellular stress and damage, DNA damage, blood-brain barrier
Thank you.
disruption.
You took note of that.
Bernie, your microphone's now available.
Yeah, good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, Chair and Board of Supervisors and public. Bernie Gomez with Milpa. Just really wanted to extend a heartfelt congratulations to Nicole Coburn for stepping up and taking on this this position. My comment is we've always had positive interactions with Nicole Coburn, and just it always felt like you listened, and so we want to continue building with the county, right? And it just feels good to know that someone at this capacity, at this level, has always been willing to listen, has always been willing to interact. So I really appreciate that and really feel confident about this board's decision, and hope you vote for Nicole Coburn. And just also extending gracias and appreciation to Carlos Palacios for his leadership up to this point. And yeah, looking forward to positive outcomes for the county in times of turbulence and uncertainty. So thank you.
Going to circle back to the speaker who was having difficulties earlier, as that's our final speaker. Call-in user 204, your microphone is now available. And as a call-in user, please use *6 to mute or unmute yourself.
I think he might be waiting for that other
Yeah,
issue.
Jen, you're right.
Yes, they've put their hand down. We have no
You're
further
welcome,
speakers,
Trey.
Chair.
Okay. With that, I'll bring back to the board. I'll start off to my left with Supervisor Koenig.
Thank you, Chair.
I have a feeling this
Just
week
a few quick
and next
comments.
week
I mean,
it's going to kind of be
you know,
like
at
this
the
'cause
beginning of this process, I knew that we were going to have a qualified internal candidate applying
Gonna be a
for
crazy
the new
week,
job
as we all
as
know.
CEO, but by no means was it a foregone conclusion in my own mind. And, of course, it's incumbent upon this board to do the national search and really make sure that we are finding the most qualified person in the entire country to fill this role and to serve the people of Santa Cruz County. And after the interviews and looking through all the resumes, there's just no doubt in my mind that you, Nicole, are that person. You really rose to the top of the pack throughout the interview process for a number of reasons for me. And for one, you're really part of a new generation of leaders. We saw that a lot of folks that we interviewed were in the latter part of their career, and you are just, right in the middle, bursting with energy and ideas and forward thinking, looking at opportunities to improve and use the evolving technology and personnel landscape to the best of our county's, the best outcomes for our county. You also just know our community so well. You've already implemented some incredibly positive change, whether that's bringing the public defender's office in-house and really improving those services. Of course, our entire strategic and operational plan we owe in many ways to you, and then you've just worked on so many different efforts to ensure that our county has the resources we need in terms of revenues to offer the services we do. You just know how everything works. And I always think that the mark of a good interview is whichever side of it you're on, whether you're interviewing or the interviewer, is that you can really feel the sense of the work, right? You know what you're going to have to do on day one, and it imbues you with enthusiasm to do it or to work with someone to bring that about. And that's exactly what I felt talking to you. And I'm just so honored to have this opportunity to promote you into this role and look forward to working with you going forward. And just to Carlos, I want to echo the sentiment that the fact we have such a fantastic internal candidate is really a testament to your foresight and mentorship. And I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Supervisor Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. Those comments. I want to speak for a moment on behalf of the subcommittee that navigated the process with the HR department. I think that myself and Supervisor Hernandez navigated a process and put together a process that was very thorough and was clear with what we were looking for. And we really did a comprehensive search. And I'm beyond proud to say that you, Nicole, rose to the top of that. Not only were you voted unanimously across all 5 members of the board, but we also put together a technical panel representing, diverse industries and leaders across the county. And they also unanimously supported you as their #1 candidate after interviewing multiple candidates who came to interview in person for this position. And I think that speaks to the trust that this community has in you and the leadership that you've held throughout various parts of our community and social issues that we are often struggling with. I also want to speak to the fact that the room is full today with, I think that every single department in the county is represented in the room to celebrate your promotion, as well as your family who's here today and numerous other leaders throughout the county. And so it is clear that our community feels confident in your leadership and that we are all here to celebrate with you and to support you as you step into this really important role for our county. And so pleased and honored to have this opportunity. Finally, to Carlos, I want to thank you for your 30 years of public service leadership in our county, across our county in Watsonville here, and recognizing that today is your last meeting serving as our county CEO. I just want to extend gratitude and appreciation for everything you've done to get us here and to really leave a strong foundation for Nicole to lead from, because she has big shoes to fill, and I know she'll do that. So thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Supervisor Cummings.
Thank you, Chair. First, I just want to start by thanking HR consultant subcommittee for their work on the search. I think we have around 139 applications for this position. So we definitely did our due diligence in terms of getting the word out and trying to, make sure that we were really finding the best person for this position. And really want to congratulate, I really want to thank all the folks who applied and really congratulate Nicole on being able to demonstrate that out of 139 applicants that she was most qualified and deserving of this position. I know that, and I want to actually thank you for your courage in stepping into this role, because as we all see with how the world is kind of unfolding and unraveling all around us, moving into this position is not an easy task. And I want to thank Carlos for all of his years on the board and his service, because Carlos has been there for the 08 recession, COVID, and for a lot of that, Nicole's been there to also learn how we can navigate these challenging situations, especially in a unique community like Santa Cruz. And so really confident that while there were some other exceptional candidates out there, the fact that Nicole has been here on the ground doing the work for an extremely long amount of time. She understands the community, she understands her challenges, and she knows how to navigate those relationships. It really puts her in a position that I think is unique when we compare her to the other candidates. And I know that as we move into these difficult times and as we see the torch be passed from Carlos to Nicole, that it's going to be a transition that will be much more seamless than if we brought somebody in from the outside. And I know that we're going to be able to continue working together collaboratively with our community as we face the challenges ahead. And so just want to thank Nicole for being willing to serve as our CEO, and we'll be supporting the motion that's before us.
Thank you, Supervisor De Silva.
So echoing what everybody else has said, I'll keep it brief. Nicole, you are highly qualified, extremely professional. Your leadership will steady us in these uncertain times that we face. You did a great job on your interview. And like Supervisor Cummings just said, we really thank you for your interest in putting yourself out there. It is not easy to step into this type of position. It is not easy to prepare and to go through the interview process. And what comes next will not be easy either as we face the inevitable crisis in public service. So I want to thank you for your public service to this community and to our county, and to welcome your husband and your 2 boys that are here in the audience today. And maybe your parents, are they here too? Yeah. Welcome. And you must be very proud of Nicole. And that's it. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'll actually quote Marilyn Garrett. You better be ready for what's ahead of you. Brace yourself. But in all seriousness, I was really impressed with every step of the way during the interviews with Nicole. During the interviews, you're among the cream of the crop amongst 139 applicants. And I have to say that, we looked at dozens of resumes, we interviewed several people, but you obviously had this breadth of knowledge of our entire county, but also South County. And that's what I was really impressed with. There's many applicants that talked about things like thinking out of the box or moving the needle. But you're actually one of the only ones that discussed plans with us that actually will move the needle. So on behalf of the board, I want to congratulate you, and we will swear you in.
Chair, we have to vote.
I'm getting carried away again. So I'll bring it to the board for a motion.
I'll move the recommended actions.
Second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Martinez and a second from Supervisor De Silva. Madam Clerk, if we take roll call vote.
Certainly. Supervisor Koenig.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
Cummings.
Aye.
De Silva.
Aye.
And Hernandez.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Does that phone number even work? Huh? Are you muted?
I was saying, I hope it does if that's what they got on the agenda.
I know, because I remember that one person who got on Zoom saying that the phone number was off, or like 1 digit off or something. I don't know.
Six 669-254-5252. Hold on. I'll call it.
Government. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Yeah, it works.
Okay. It's like a 45-second lag from being on the Zoom
Mic
on our
check.
phone versus on
I
here.
state your full name, do solemnly swear.
My freaking audio didn't work on my Zoom.
That I will support and defend the Constitution
I'm about to leave and
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. And that I will faithfully discharge the duties
160, 123.
of the office of County Executive Officer of Santa Cruz County, according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Want to take a good picture? Let's take a good picture of it.
And the webinar ID works. I just had to use it again.
Okay. I'm trying to make myself remember to text Jordan when they start talking about Kratom again.
I was doing, do you know what agenda number they're on right now?
Shit, no.
Let me see.
They're doing the swearing in thingy.
Okay.
Oh, another early morning.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just still, I mean, obviously I'm still tired from going out of town, but I'm just like, my brain's like taking a, my brain is lagged. It's like 3 layers of lag.
So I'm guessing when they come back, they just automatically go back on the same stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It
it's
is-
still, yeah, it's still going.
It is so chaotic, you guys.
I
We
think
want
we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Oh,
See,
see how it's like,
That's what I'm saying. It's like a 45-second lag.
and then it's lagged a third time if you're watching the stream.
Yeah.
So it's like it goes from our phone to the like to what we're watching, and then to the stream.
So this time around, I had to make sure I muted my computer, muted the microphone, so that I wouldn't have echo when I spoke. So and then I made sure to put my little caricature on the box, because I know me speaking is going to be so off.
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
you watch this replay.
Well, that's like even when we were clapping for people, it's still kind of,
So then I would wait until it got to this.
I know.
I would wait till it got to them where we were actually clapping at. So I'd redo
Yeah,
it. Yeah. I clocked it. Clock it.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Dude, we should get some like clacker things, like
No, we had some.
what are those things called?
Those little hand clapper thingies.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So far, so good. So far, so good.
Hopefully, we'll have a couple more people call in and testify.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's a good case.
I was like looking at the freedom is.
I'm gonna kick you harder.
Oh, which one?
On the brand.
Oh,
I
I'm surprised
know.
they don't mute that.
Next time
I know.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start calling point of order.
No, just tell me.
You should. It was your item. Pass the item that said that our chair gonna have comments on regular agenda item. Regular agenda. So
I think they thought they were going to have a bunch of people call in for agenda number 19, and then they're like, "Oh, there's a lot for 12."
They got their mic. They got hot mic going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear that?
No.
He said they're calling from Florida and Colorado.
Oh, so it's public comment.
And Tennessee.
But this is why it's important for people in your own community to show up.
They're calling in from Florida and Colorado.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well,
There's the lag.
Yeah, it's
I
bad.
put my headphones back on.
Right. It is.
At least we know they had to take
Finish
a
my
pee break.
breakfast.
Yeah,
Huh?
just I said at least we know they had to take a pee break.
Yeah, I know. I know.
They're not robots. And then tonight's Tustin.
Yeah.
So anybody that's watching right now, if you can call in at Tustin tonight, it's at 5:30.
It starts at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
So
the closed session starts at 5:30.
Okay. So that's what, 8 o'clock Eastern time? 7 o'clock my time?
7 my time, 8 your time, 9.
Okay. Man, that's hard to keep up with. It's like, it's not hard unless you've just been trying to do it like all day, and it's like trying to do East Coast and West Coast.
I confuse myself all the damn time.
Yeah.
Because normally we just deal with East Coast time.
Yeah.
Sometimes Central. Yeah, Jen, it's gonna be another late night tonight.
Slumber party.
I know.
Shoot, I hope it ain't too late, man, because school's tomorrow. I ain't on fall break no more. As long as it's a good outcome, it's worth it.
But you know what? We ain't out there getting all drunk or fucked up on substances. We're over here advocating to save the future people of Tustin, California. Another hearing's going to happen tonight in Tustin, California. I didn't even know that was a damn city.
Yeah, Tustin. Yeah. Irvine was long.
It was so long.
Hopefully it won't be too long. Yeah, but you can't, I mean, honestly, like you can never tell. Like, even if it's the first thing on the agenda, sometimes they'll move it just for no reason. Or, some, I don't know, it just depends on the people. It's crazy. I still cannot believe they spent so much freaking time on nitrous oxide in Irvine, California.
It's gonna be the same tonight.
Ugh.
Nitrous is on that agenda.
Yeah. I mean, that was insane. It's been longer than a 5-minute recess, boo. Yeah, I mean, it has. I wonder if they're going to actually decide on it tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now people can still speak on it. So, go rally up the troops, Drea.
Yeah, that's my thing too. It's like at least they're noticing that there's way more people and they're actually like making time for everybody. I've noticed. Oh, I think they're coming back.
Yep.
We'll find out in 45 seconds on the stream.
I know.
Yeah.
A bat?
Shut up. Shut up. Oh, I don't think so.
That would be.
Dude, yeah, that would be pretty awesome if there was a bat in there, dude. Man, I was getting excited thinking something cool was going to happen. There's a bat.
I know.
Which we still got 5 minutes.
I didn't hear
Is there what? There's a bat?
The lag time.
Oh. I'm making fun of her.
Yeah, I know Craig's nervous about it, but we've told him so many times if he just does it, it's not that bad.
Thank you, Chair. We're prepared to resume the meeting.
Oh, wait, what item?
Oh, he's okay. He was talking to a lady. I wonder what. Hold on. Let me see what agenda 15 is.
I need to go pee.
Go for it.
Two minutes?
I wish they'd
Miss
say
Early?
we're gonna do agenda number blah 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 when we come back, so we know if it was 12 or not. 1 minute. Like they aren't playing there. So they're about to. Oh, it's lag. You'll hear the 1 minute in a second.
Madam Clerk, are we ready?
Oh,
Yes, we are ready to resume the meeting in 1 minute when it reaches 10:45. Thank you.
so they're still on just 13, so we're not up yet. Jeez, dude. So I guess they're kind of bouncing around. So 13 is the scheduled agenda item. And then there's another scheduled at 1.
Are we ready? Okay. We'll now begin the scheduled item for 10:45. The next agenda item is number 13. Hold a public hearing to consider the resolution declaring results of majority protest proceedings to establish Santa Cruz County Mountain Wine
Did you hear that,
Improvement
Misty?
District and take all related actions. I'll turn it over to Peter Detlefs, Principal Administrative Analyst, Kelly Rankin, Project Manager with Savitas, and Kiki McKay, Executive Director of the Santa Cruz Mountain Wine Growers Association for the presentation.
With the
Good
wine.
morning, Chair, members of the board. Again, my name is Peter Detlefs, and I'm a principal
Marcel, you
administrative
still have
analyst in the
time to
County
speak.
Executive Office.
Yeah, they're gonna come back after agenda
We are
number
here for the
15.
third step in the process
So
of
they're
forming
like
the
bouncing
Santa Cruz
back and
Mountain Wine
forth
Improvement
because there's
District.
so many people
We're
to
joined here
talk.
today with Kegi McKay from
Right
the
now
Wine
they're
Growers
on
Association.
agenda
Kelly Rankin is
13.
actually on Zoom today and will also be presenting. Additionally, we have members from HDL companies, the county sales tax consultant that's here to assist with. the
Yeah,
heavy
so I
lifting
guess
yourself as
I think
necessary.
you said 15.3.
Turn
After
it over to Kelly. Thank you.
15.3, they were gonna come back to agenda 12.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chair and Supervisors. Nice to see you again. My name is Kelly Rankin, Project Manager at Civitas, working alongside Kiki McKay from the Santa Cruz Mountain Wine Growers Association on the formation
You're
of
welcome.
the Wine Improvement District. We have a short
It's
presentation
so
for
weird
you
how they just
today,
decide
and
whatever.
Kiki is actually going
It's
to
like
kick us off.
every place is different. They just decide their own rules as it goes.
Hi there. Supervisor.
Mike, if you could turn it on.
Is that better? Basically, we're here to finalize, like you said, the last step in the process to
Yeah, I'm about to go get
district
me
for the
something
Santa
to
Cruz
drink.
Mountains
I'll be right back.
Bay.
Okay.
And what we're bringing before you is the final resolution and management district plan
Dude, I'm
that
still
includes
half
slightly
asleep.
reduced boundary with portions of San Mateo and Santa Clara counties
Oh, let me put
removed.
this
And
little
this
ticker
was
back up
to
with the stuff on.
bring in our initial boundaries to match closer to the AVA lines after consulting with the Santa Clara Valley AVA and other areas, just so that we were kind of fair to both. It has a refined assessment business list and I guess the assessment as a whole, because those boundaries shrank. The refined assessment businesses are the removal of the cideries, anything non-wine distributors, brandy makers, I think the limoncello person in there. And this has resulted in a reduced budget from our original projections. So we're really approximating about $400,000 annually. Our support updates since we last spoke on this, I think was, well, we did an 8.5 and 9.9. We had about 56%. We continue to get petitions in over the course of the last couple months, and we're at 76.13 in support based on a weighted value of the assessed businesses. This is 62.4% on the original boundary, so shrinking the boundary and removing those other areas also concentrated our support. We do have several businesses that came in, wineries that came in with petitions late and were not included in the 76.13. So we do have a larger strength than that, but the basis of what is signed, it's 76.13. Handing this over to Kelly now.
Thank you, Keiki. So once a district is formed, assessed wineries are responsible for remitting that assessment, which is usually passed along to the customers. HDL, who already collects for wine districts in places like Livermore and Santa Barbara, will manage the collection on the county's behalf. Funds will then go to the Wine Growers Association, which administers them under the management district plan. By law, those dollars must be spent exactly as we've outlined in the plan before you, ensuring transparency and accountability. Wineries will have input on services, and an annual report to the county will show how funds are spent, revenues received, and projections in the coming year. The association will also operate under Brown Act and Public Records Request Act. Next slide, please. So as permitted under the Property and Business Improvement District Law of 1994, the district would have an initial 5-year term, giving the association time to measure its impact and make adjustments before any renewal. It would then be managed by the Santa Cruz Mountain Wine Growers Association, which already represents the local wineries and has experience to carry out any marketing, promotional programs on behalf of the district. Finally, the assessment rate would start at 1% of gross direct-to-consumer wine sales. In the beginning in year 2, the rate could be increased up to a maximum of 2%, but that wouldn't happen by any more than 0.5% increase in any year. And that would be based on a vote of the board of directors. These parameters are also consistent with other successful wine and tourism districts across the state. Next slide, please. Our estimated initial budget is about $400,000 with the reduced parameters that Keiki just reviewed. About 55% or $220,000 will go towards marketing and brand awareness to elevate the region's profile and attract some more visitors. About 10% would support business improvement and special projects. 25% would be administration operations. That also includes the county and HDL's collection fees to administer the assessment on the district's behalf. And then 10% would be held in a reserve for contingency or future needs. Next slide, and I will pass it back to Keiki.
What we're looking at with this revenue stream is in some key services that to strengthen our current marketing. A business improvement and special projects would entail wine trail signage that we're looking at for South County of Santa Cruz, as well as expanding into the other areas of Santa Cruz County. It already exists in Santa Clara County. And then more participation in regional events and hosting media tours, sommeliers, concierge programs, developing awareness for the Santa Cruz Mountain wines as a whole. In marketing and brand awareness, we're looking at large-scale digital and print advertising, expanded public relations, and an expanded digital marketing campaign. These are just top-tier services that we're looking at. This is really going to take a lot of input from the wineries themselves to develop an expanded campaign. This map just shows the actual boundaries of the wine district in the final MDP and the consent from all the 10. Santa Cruz County would be the 11th jurisdiction. And that's back to Kelly to wrap up what we've done on timeline.
We're going to have to do a lot of editing.
Process and timeline overview. This whole process and project began with feasibility study back in August of 2024. This included surveys, open houses, and one-on-one meetings and outreach and consensus building. With that positive feedback that we learned, we advanced to drafting the management district plan, the initial iteration of that in February, and then that allowed us to begin the petition drive in May. From there, we had majority support of the petitions, allowing us to move forward with the public hearing process. The board then passed a resolution of intention on August 5th, which initiated these proceedings. Following, we obtained resolutions of consent from all the other 10 jurisdictions that would be included in the district. And there was also a public meeting to hear testimony on September 9th. So now we're before you requesting a resolution of formation to allow the district to commence on January 1, 2026. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll open it up to the public for anyone wishing to address us on this item. Yeah, it's in the back. Turn on the mic.
Mic is up. Hear me? Thank you. I'm James Baker, owner with my family of Aptos Vineyard in Aptos. And prior to that, I taught and worked in the Power Valley Unified School District, was superintendent for 10 years during the 80s, and somehow got involved in the wine business. And I appreciate the cooperation that we have within the business. Even though we have differences of opinion, we still agree that this appellation, this really wonderful appellation that we live in, is unique in this world for its altitudes, its soil, and its diversity of fruit. Now, when I first came to Watsonville in 1960, I realized I was in the middle of an apple industry. And very slowly, it webbed into strawberries. And the strawberries just took over. And then from strawberries, it went to raspberries. And the next thing you know, Hal Johnson from Briscoe's had created the blackberry. And now, I'm here to tell you that Hal said to me, he said, Jim, these mountains
I'm laughing my
prime
ass off of
for
this guy.
grapes, because grapes will grow on
I love
poor
grapes. I have to
soil,
say that's my
take
top
very little
2
water, and the new
fruits.
current
I could
methodologies for
literally eat
raising
grapes
those
every day of my
grapes
life.
require few, if any, pesticides. And so now we have an opportunity to, and with your help, of making this one of the most wonderful viticulture areas in the world. And we need your help to form this organization so that they can speak, for one, to the community and to the world. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. And also, thank you for all you do. I just read your agenda. I'm overwhelmed with what you have to deal with. Thank you.
If there's, okay.
Bring it down a little bit for me. Okay, I'm going to quote from the August 5 declaration sent by the Santa Cruz County Supervisors, that's you, to all the jurisdictions. A resolution of the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors requesting consent of the cities, towns, and counties, et cetera, to grant the Wine Improvement District. And thank you for your support in doing that. You invited them all to approve the WID, and they have. And so now, here we are, and it's your turn. Now it's up to you to make the Wine Improvement District a reality. Most of the wineries in the Santa Cruz Mountains belong to the SCMWA, our association. We have realized that working together, we can do more than going it alone. Yes, there are a few wineries that aren't supportive of the WID. You can't get everyone to agree to everything all the time, as I'm sure you well know. And I want to point out that most, not necessarily all, but most of those objecting are not members of the association. They just want to do their own thing, which is fine. However, all the other members who are members of the association are very excited about this. And you saw the numbers. There's a big majority. It would be a shame for the few to ruin this for all the rest of us. and not just for the wineries, but for the rest of the jurisdictions and communities who want this. Thank you for your support. Let's work together for new possibilities. I'm Mary Lindsay, Munns Vineyard. I'm on the board as secretary, and I support the Wine Improvement District. Thank you very much.
Boy, there's bad apples in every damn community.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Jim Cargill. I'm president of the Wine Growers Association, fellow board member with Mary Munn. And I agree with my colleagues and fellow vintners that this is the right thing to do. I'm excited about this. The prospect of doing this, it's kind of the next step in our evolution. It's been a long road to get here. We've had a lot of hard conversations, a lot of very good conversations. We've made adjustments. We've listened to folks that agree and disagree and really put this program together so that this thing makes sense for all. And that's the very exciting thing about this wine business district, is that it really helps elevate our voice and shows the strength of our appellation. It's noted that we have altitude, but we also have attitude. And that's a can-do attitude that we can make this a world-class appellation and let the world know. And that's what we're really out to do, is to bring this forward. And again, as was noted, all the other jurisdictions have passed this, moved this through, and we've had great conversations. And we know that it's never going to be 100%. I'm sure you would all love to get elected with 100% approval. Just not the world we live in. We live in a representative democracy. And so this is how it is. We have strong support. We've worked with all of those in our appellation, within our organization and outside. And I say, as the president and everybody on the board, I think I can speak for, we welcome them to the table. We absolutely welcome them to the table. We don't have all the ideas. We want them to come together to really work together to make this the greatest appellation on the planet. And I know we can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there's nobody else here that would like to address us, is there anyone
Oh,
online?
I think it's like a minute lag.
I see no speakers online, Chair.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that presentation. I'm really excited about this opportunity that we have. Before I bring it back to the council, I wanted to just get a clarification. You mentioned that there was still some late petitions that wanted to join the district. Is there going to be an opportunity for them to join at some point?
We have petitions that came in that we cannot submit to get the weighted value increased unless we submit in a pack of 5 so that it's blind. So everybody joins. It's just that I can't quantify them.
Got it. So just the vote they didn't get, but they're part of the district. Okay, got it. And also thank you to our staff, Peter and Kiki, for all the work behind this. It was, I think, definitely over a year of work behind this to making it happen. With that, I'll bring it back to the board to see if there's any questions, comments. Supervisor Cummings?
Thank you, Chair. Kind of been on the fence on this because largely I've received, when this was first coming to the board, numerous communications of folks who were not supportive and didn't want to move forward with this, largely because of issues around cost and the fact that they're being forced into this assessment district. And so I'm just curious if what is being done to address some of the concerns that have been brought forward, because a number of these were, wineries and people who have tap rooms that are in my district. And as a representative, I just want to make sure that if this is going to move forward, that their concerns are being addressed. I know that we've also talked about a 5-year, for the first term to be 5 years. And I think some folks were concerned with the length of that time period and wanted to see it decrease to 3 years, which I think that that's a good compromise in this case, but really wanted to first start with what's being done to address some of the concerns. I mean, you all demonstrated that you've adjusted this map, and part of that map is really funky looking because it's like a little peninsula that kind of sticks out up into San Mateo County, and some folks might say, or Santa Clara County. Some folks might say, well, why can't we have the map drawn so that it will exclude my parcel so I wouldn't be forced into this. And so I'm just wondering if you could speak to that, because we're trying to really address the issues that are being brought up by some of these folks.
To begin with the map, that portion of San Mateo County is largely all open space. It excludes a few growers that do not really make wine or are well under a commercial threshold. And it was a request of San Mateo County to do it that way. And it gets funky because it does include all wineries that basically have production addresses and sales points in the peninsula that goes up. It is strange. And then the Santa Clara adjustment, I think originally because this is based on the State Streets and Roads Act, they went out to the nearest street in the foothills of Los Gatos, which basically went a little too far into the Santa Clara AVA. And once we realized it, it was a learning process for ourselves. But we realized it, we tried to do our best to pull it back as close as we could to our elevation lines, which define the AVA. As far as cost, you know, we've spoken with many of the wineries that express that concern. And I think it was a twofold concern. And one was that it would cost them more, but this is an assessment that they can pass through to the consumer. And it's a low assessment. So on a $60 bottle of wine, we're talking 60 cents. And we've explained that other areas have not seen price resistance or reluctance on the part of the consumer. Most understood that. I would say the other issue they had with the cost was, for some, they saw that their dues were, as they see it, dues were going to triple. And understanding that it is a pass-through and that they would no longer be paying it, nor would they be paying dues, kind of tempered that concern. What they were concerned about was larger wineries that had more wholesale and less DTC, that they felt with this model might be paying less than their perceived share to size. But in most of those cases, that's not true, because our dues model has a cap. Our dues are $1,300. Well, we have a small winery base of $750 up to $5,200 max. And those wineries in that $5,200 base could be paying with assessment, even taking into consideration that they're not paying for wholesale or out of state, be paying $20,000 to $30,000. So proportionally, they're still paying quite a bit more. In our current model, they actually pay extremely low compared to their size. So pointing that out to a lot of people, I think that helped them make sense. You know, they were feeling that some of the larger wineries were getting away with something of paying less because they were 80% wholesale. And like I said, that's just not the case. They're going to pay quite a bit more than they currently pay. Talking about cost.
And then
The third one was, what was the third?
and then the term.
Oh, the term. So I've talked it through with several people, and I mean, even those like Ryan Beauregard, he fully understands that a 3-year term is probably not the best, because in marketing, it takes a year to 18 months to ramp up your pieces in place. And on a 3-year term, we would have to be already in starting the formation process, which is this full process, year-long process, again, in 24 months. So we would not have KPIs. We would not have any success indicators at that point. So it just puts a lot of constraints on the model. There is an opt-out, so every year at the anniversary of the formation, so that would be January 1, 2027, 2028. If people are looking at it and going, this just really isn't working, we can vote to disband by a 51%.
So couple of questions. and I appreciate that. Just wondering, two questions. One, there's been a reduction in the amount of projected revenue that's going to be raised. And I'm just wondering how that compares to currently what you all are raising as your wine association. I mean, it sounded like it came down $400,000, and maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I thought that might be around what you all already raising. And then the second question is really how that's, I mean, given the expanse of this wine improvement district, and it sounds, and maybe you could speak to the number of wineries that are going to be involved in this, but like, how is the money going to be spent in a way that ensures that the wineries are going to be having kind of equal marketing opportunities, just given that it seems like we're going from Santa Cruz County to Tri-County wine improvement district. And, you know, I guess for us, it's not clear what the increase in the number of wineries is and how this will actually be beneficial for these wineries.
Sure. So we already are a Tri-County association. We have 64 current members in the association, all voluntary. When we reduced the boundaries and culled the list for old closed businesses, et cetera, we realized there's about 115 licensed operational businesses within the 3 counties within the proposed district. So we represent 64 of them at this point. 20 to 30 of them are basically backyard growers that maybe make 50 cases of wine that's made for personal use. They still will be members. They still will be represented by us. And should they choose to want marketing services or promote those wines, they, you know, have all the suite of available tactics. Our budget currently, or what we have proposed coming from the bid, was $550,000. That was, I'm sorry, $550,000. That was in the original management district plan. We're adjusting that to $400,000. So there is a $150,000 delta there that, you know, we'll adjust some of our tactics and not give us as, you know, as many things we could do. That replaces, though, in our current budget, $109,000 that we raise in membership fees. All of our other activities, our income-producing events and programs will continue. We will continue to operate. So we will still have those. It's about $150,000 plus in revenue stream from income-producing events. So that plus the $400,000, which is a swap for the 109, we are looking at, you know, an annual budget of about $550,000 total. We have operated on a budget like that in the past when we had a larger Silicon Valley wine auction and a partnership 2015 through 2020 or 2019, sorry. So we're used to knowing what to do with that set of monies. We have a large membership because people have confidence in what we do. Many AVAs have 20% membership. We're if you mean 65 to 115, I guess you're looking more at 60%. But that's of viable
I'm sorry, I
operational
just had to
businesses that
scream.
make over 500 cases annually. We're close to 75% membership.
I was like, what the
as
hell?
a whole. What we plan to do with that is really expand our brand awareness marketing. Our mission is the brand awareness of the AVA, not distinct winery marketing. So can we handle an additional 30 members? Definitely, because we're marketing as a whole. We're allowing or asking them to participate with us and attend our events and be part of all the things we do, but we don't distinctly market one-on-one for them. So I don't think we'd be overwhelmed by 30 additional members.
And then I guess just for clarity, so your current budget is how much?
This year, our current budget was $380,000.
Okay, that's helpful, just because I was trying to get the comparison. That concludes my questions.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Supervisor Koenig.
Yeah, no questions, just a few comments. The first is that I think when we first started talking about this, and thank you, Keiki, for all your work on it. We first started talking about it because I was interested in moving forward some wine trail signage because there's this horrible discrepancy that our Santa Cruz Mountains wine trail signage ends in Santa Cruz County. It's on the Santa Clara side. I'm maybe in San Mateo, parts of the AVA, but to Santa Cruz County and you get, it ends, you lose the scent. So it's great that this is going to be an opportunity to correct that. Also recently, I was trying to put together a wine tour for my friend who collects a lot of wine, probably an excessive amount of wine. And I wanted to showcase all the great things that are
Yeah,
happening
they're
in Santa
trying to
Cruz
figure
County.
out
I
how to
could
get
think of
all
a
that
few
wine
places to go,
money,
but
alcohol money.
there was no tour A, tour B, tour C.
Who all's gonna get
clearly
a cut
opportunities
of it?
there
Anything
to
like that.
showcase our wineries better. And then finally, I feel like even through this process, through some of the great press that our AVA has had recently as well, in both the LA Times and New York Times, I consistently hear about new wineries that I just had no idea were even in our county and in this APA that are winning headlines. So all that tells me that there is some low-hanging fruit here that we can pick and that I think will have a positive impact for all wineries in this region. It's funny, I think this is the third hearing we've really had on this, the third time that we've discussed this at the board. First time, no controversy. And then I think the very next day I was reading an article about how this issue had just blown up in Sonoma as they were considering doing something similar. And sure enough, at our next meeting, we got into the controversy a little bit. Here we are with really quite a high opt-in rate. So I think all things considered, this demonstrates that it's something that the district wants to move forward with. And you're never going to have 100% unanimous agreement. I think we're pretty close, and that ultimately this is going to be a great thing. And the fact that a lot of other regions are considering it as well. I mean, hopefully we get out there early enough that it gives us a competitive advantage. And at the end of the day, it might just be part of the cost of remaining competitive. I think the sooner we do it, the sooner we learn to operate this district effectively, the more productive it will be. So, supportive, thank you.
Thank you. So this is really exciting again because I had the opportunity to talk to most of the wineries in South County, and they're all very excited and looking forward to this. And a few of them were just saying that they're willing to give it a try. So I'm really excited that some of them have been willing players in this to see how it turns out. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I think when the marketing and the brand name comes up, it's probably good to seek local business groups like the Paro Valley Chamber of Commerce, the Aptos Chamber of Commerce, Santa Cruz Business Council, Scotts Valley Chamber of Commerce, of course, to kind of see what the best way to market something in their own communities. I think it'll make it a lot better for the local wineries here and their tasting rooms as well. And the only question I really have is, you mentioned that there's opportunities for 0.5% increase. Is that able to happen within the 5 years or every 5 years?
It's every year.
Oh.
The board can choose to go up or down at 0.5%, with a max of 2 in the course of all 5.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll stay the same for now. But I guess that's the only question. If there's no further comments from the board, I'll bring it back to entertain a motion.
I'll move the recommended actions.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Supervisor Koenig and a second
It
from
lines people's
Supervisor
pockets.
DeSerpa. Madam Clerk?
Alcohol is lining them
Supervisor
pockets.
Oh, I have a quick question for staff. I'm just wondering when the board's going to hear back on progress on this
Crazy.
item.
So we have a
No telling
fiduciary
how much that
responsibility
way with all
to
that
do an
wine.
annual report to you. So our formation will be January 1, 2026. So one would calculate that, but it would be, end of January 2027. You'd have an annual report with investment and KPIs. And subsequently every year.
Right, so we'll have an annual report. That's helpful.
Thank you.
I'll just weigh in that, Visit Santa Cruz has a very similar structure. We do bring that report annually, so look very much like what you've seen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Supervisor DeSerpa?
Aye.
Cummings?
Staying for the record, I share some of the concerns have been brought to my attention, although I'm not going to vote against this, but I'm also, I don't think I can support it, so I'm going to abstain from voting on this item.
Supervisor Martinez?
Aye.
Koenig?
Aye.
And Hernandez?
Enthusiastic
We're going
aye.
on 9 next.
Motion passes unanimously. 4-1, one abstention from Supervisor Cummings. Now we're going back to 9, 8 or 9. Yeah, 9. Okay. Next, we have agenda item number 9, consider the adoption of Measure Q Vision Plan 2025-2030 to establish funding priorities and implementation framework for the grant program associated with the Safe Drinking Water, Clean Beaches, Wildfire Risk Reduction and Wildlife Protection Act, Measure Q, from the Office of Response, Recovery and Resilience in Parks, Open Space and Cultural Services. I'll turn it over to Rebecca Hurley, Deputy Director of Parks, Open Spaces, Cultural Services, and David Reed, Director of Office of Response, Recovery and Resilience for the presentation.
Good morning, Chair. Rebecca Hurley, Deputy Director of Parks. For clarification, we are combining items 9 and 10 in our presentation. So this, at the end of the presentation, there will be 2 separate votes, one for the adoption of Measure Q Vision Plan 2025 through 2030, as well as the consideration of the proposed projects for the county allocations for fiscal year 25-26. So a brief overview is that the vision plan was recently approved by the Citizens Oversight Advisory Board on October 8th. It is the kind of guiding document for the 40% of the funds that come in every year for Measure Q in that for the grant program. And we'll go into kind of what that outcome of that plan is now. We are also going to be talking about what we are proposing as county staff for the other 20% of the county funds that comes in annually. This year, it's about 1.4 million. However, I will remind the board that you were previously voted to allocate $100,000 to each district supervisor. So it's less about $500,000. So the amount that we're looking at project allocation is $900,000.
So good morning, board. Dave Reed. So just to talk a little bit about the creation of the vision plan as outlined in the measure, this is a required part of the document to give a strategic roadmap for how we are going to focus investing the 40% of the measure towards the competitive grant program. So 40% of the measure goes out via grants. As a reminder, that is both a $600,000 geographic area in the South County, $600,000 geographic area in the North County in the San Vicente Redwoods area. And then the remainder of that, that money is for grant opportunities throughout the county. The plan is, as required, focused on guiding those expenditures within the grant program, but we definitely hope that the plan also informs all allocations and expenditures through the measure. So just talking a little bit about the thematic focus areas. So for this first 5-year strategic plan or vision plan, the community, stakeholders, our consultant team, Parks and OR3, aligned on 3 key focus areas with the concept that we're not excluding any of the other focus areas of projects outlined in the vision plan, but in this first 5-year plan, really focusing on water quality and resilience, wildfire prevention and forest health, and parks access and equity. I want to note here that there were some really great comments at the COAB and by the public around the importance of wildlife and habitat protection as well. And as outlined and visualized in the vision plan, we really expect and intend to ensure that water quality and wildfire prevention activities granted will also address habitat and wildlife protection. It's very, very difficult to do any work in those 2 thematic areas in particular without addressing wildlife and habitat protection. And as we get into the project selection, you'll also see how the parks projects at your discretion that we're recommending is also going to address habitat and wildlife protection as well. So just briefly talking a little bit more about process. We had 2 rounds. If you recall, we talked about this in June. We had 2 rounds of stakeholder outreach with incredible participation from community partners, many of whom will likely be applicants to the grant program. We had a number of in-person and virtual community meetings where we received feedback. We had a survey open for an extended period of time and received over 900 folks responding to that survey. And so we feel really positive about the engagement in the production of this plan. And we received robust feedback from all of our COAB members, integrating their feedback and comments into the final draft that they approved on October 8th and that you have before you today. Hand it back to Rebecca.
Thank you, Dave. So in order for us to try to identify for fiscal year 25-26 appropriate projects for the county allocation for work in the unincorporated area, we gathered, we had an interdepartmental meeting amongst multiple departments to discuss potential projects and really then narrowing it down to what projects are ready to go, are not doing the planning component, things that are really shovel ready. We also wanted to try to follow and align with the vision plan since it had recently been approved, as well as just what would be highly visible to the public at large to show them that Measure Q was working for them. We did our best as well to try to have geographic equity, and is also just focusing on what the vision plan was focusing on for the first year of allocations, is that in South County. So the table you see before you is a representation of only about 50% of the projects that were even discussed at that meeting. There's multiple other projects that will continue to be eligible for Measure Q funding moving forward. We selected the top 3 projects: Freedom Lake Restoration and Access Project for $720,000. Wildfire Risk Reduction and Evacuation Route for roadside vegetation trimming is a match to the hazardous mitigation grant that Dave will speak of more, the amount of $80,000. And then as well, the Corralitos Creek Watershed Flood Modeling and Forecasting Tool, which is about $75,000. This was us aiming at doing what Measure Q was campaigned on of something that helps with water resource management as well as public safety, looking at fuel reduction along our evacuation routes, and then also doing restoration in a park and increasing access. So I'll speak for a minute about the Freedom Lake Restoration and Access Project. Freedom Lake has been overrun for years with invasive aquatic and invasive plants around the lake. And we were fortunate enough to get the initial funding from a previous supervisor through discretionary funds to begin the work. And we've already removed the majority of invasive acacia trees along the western side to open up the pathway that now the public can access easier. So what we'd like to do is utilize the funds to remove the remaining acacia trees around the lake, and which will make it highly visible from Freedom Boulevard and let the public see that we're really helping their tax dollars at work. We've already done a lot of the technical work, we've done the historical work, and in 2026, we anticipate the permitting and then actual work able to be done. It's not the full amount that this project will need. It's going to be a multi-year project, but we've already had conversations with Wildlife Conservation Board, the Coastal Conservancy, and they're all really pleased to try to support this in future grant funds. It's also a partnership project with Watsonville Wetlands Watch, as well as the California Conservation Corps.
So I'll talk a little bit about the roadside vegetation and wildfire risk reduction project. So as Rebecca said, this is closing a local grant match requirement that we have. This is a FEMA grant. All indications are it's not going away. So there is that security. It's about $1 million from the federal government and a little over $300,000 as a local match requirement. Your board approved using some Measure K funds, and this proposed $880,000 will close that gap so that we have the full funding for this project. In speaking with CDI staff, the goal hopefully with this funding allocation will be to try and deliver this project next year, or the majority of it in next year. We're going to value engineer and make sure that we get as much as we can. The original grant application proposed about 51 miles of the along the 8 road corridors. If we can do all 51 based on current cost estimates, we'll certainly do that. If we need to adjust based on current costs, since this grant was originally written in 2021, we'll do that to make the most impactful vegetation removal along these key corridors for evacuations. The last project that I'll just speak briefly to is a unique opportunity to leverage some work being done by the Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency. They're doing a lot of watershed level analysis for their resilience work. We're going to be taking some of the consultant work that has already been done as part of that and leverage that to create a forecasting tool for us on one of our flashier streams. Last year, we had a storm system that was forecasted to hit the San Lorenzo Valley. It shifted south and dumped over 2.5 inches of rain in the Corralitos watershed, and we had to make emergency evacuations. Our sheriff's office did emergency evacuations along Corralitos Creek in short notice conditions. So this forecasting tool is going to give us better information to make informed decisions as to giving people better time, more time to make evacuation decisions. And we see it as an opportunity to see if this is a useful tool that we could extend to Aptos Creek and Soquel Creek.
Yeah, I
We don't
have
have
we're gonna be
forecasting
waiting a
capacity on any
little
of those
bit, a
creeks.
lot longer.
So what we do in our EOC
Because
world
I mean,
is
there
when we have a
other scheduled things
forecast
that one.
of rain,
Oh, never mind.
we
It's
also look
still
at what
here.
that's going to do to the rivers in the San Lorenzo and
I
Pajaro.
have a feeling
And
I
that
wouldn't be
gives us
surprised
a
if they went
chance
on
to
like
get
a
ahead
lunch
of
break too.
planning,
Same.
both communication-wise and with community partners and Public Works and the Sheriff's Office. We don't have that tool in Soquel, Aptos, and Corralitos Creek. So we're starting with this leveraged opportunity in Corralitos. If it's a successful tool, we may look at it in those other 2 watersheds.
So the financial impact is, as I noted earlier, the amount of revenue that comes in towards the county funds is $1.4 million this year. And this is for fiscal year 25-26. The board previously decided to allocate $100,000 to each board supervisor. That leaves a little over $900,000. We are trying to program about 97% of those funds, as we will be coming back during next June's budget hearings to try to program the 26-27 Measure U funding. So again, it's $720,000 towards Freedom Lake, $80,000 match to fill that delta that was missing for the roadside vegetation and wildfire risk reduction trimming, and then Corralitos Creek hydrological forecasting model at $75,000. So again, there's 2 different actions, so we'll need to take 2 separate votes. The first recommended action is for this board to adopt the Measure Q vision plan as approved by the COA.
Ooh, maybe they're
as well
finally
as to
about to
direct
vote
staff
on
to
it.
return in the board to the board in the fall of 2026 with the annual report. Second item that will be voted on is the county Measure Q funding allocation, and that's to consider the project allocations for Measure Q funding allocation in the amount of $875,000 total. Direct staff to proceed with the implementation of the recommended projects, and then as an administrative recommended action, delegate authority to the county executive officer to approve the 25-26 budget adjustments to facilitate funding allocations based on approved projects. available with any questions you
Thank you. With that, I'll bring it out to the public to see if anybody wishes to address us on this item.
So huge thanks to all. We'd also love to comment on the funding priorities outlined in the measure.
Can you hear my
Good
headphones?
morning. My name is Melina Mayhood. I'm here on behalf of the
No?
Land Trust of
Okay.
Santa Cruz County and Sarah Newkirk and Eric Lombardo. I just wanted to take a second to extend our immense gratitude and thanks to everyone who has gotten the Measure Q vision plan this far. And specifically, we want to thank Jeff Gaffney, Rebecca Hurley, Rob Tidmore at County Parks, as well as Dave Reed, Tatiana Brennan, along with Matt Freeman and Placeworks. We'd also love to thank outgoing CEO Carlos Palacios and incoming CEO Nicole Coburn, along with Deputy CEO Elisa Benson, who will be providing leadership for Measure Q implementation. So a huge thanks to all. We'd also love to comment on the funding priorities outlined in the Measure Q vision plan, and specifically thank the team for their additional inclusion of habitat and wildlife protection as something that underpins the other thematic priorities.
I'm just over
We also
here
want to
singing to my
acknowledge that
cat.
there are so many organizations in this county doing amazing work in the thematic priorities already, namely County Park Friends, Fire Safe Council of Santa Cruz County, and Watsonville Wetlands Watch. So we're really excited to see what else can be done by these partners and others with the upcoming Measure Q grant program that this vision plan will support. Lastly, we just want to note our support for the staff recommendations for Measure Q County spending in now item 10 that's combined here. We're excited to see a major fuel reduction project as well as Freedom Lake improvements proposed for funding. We think it's very aligned with Measure Q campaign priorities, and this will serve our community very well, specifically with regard to wildfire risk reduction and water resource management. So thank you all so much.
There's no one else here. Anyone
What? He
online?
acted like they was going to be together.
Yes, Chair.
Exactly.
Jean, your microphone is now available.
Good morning. I'd like to speak about, do I have to do both items in my 2 minutes, or can I do
Chair.
two each item?
Sorry, let me just interrupt for a second. Stop the clock, please, for the speaker. So it looks like there's some confusion. Item 9 and item 10 were not joined together. So this is on item 9. So folks will have an opportunity to also do public comment on item 10 when that item is taken up next.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, I will proceed on item number 9 then. I want to thank staff this morning for stressing the protection of wildlife and habitat. We were the only 2 members of the public to attend these COAB meetings, and that was our biggest concern. And I think we were heard, and I really do appreciate that. So I'm also hopeful that the Board of Supervisors read our letter that we sent to the board, because we had a definite problem with continuing the use of green tape in the vision plan. Yes, efficiency is imperative, but anything that implies reducing environmental regulations is not acceptable. I think that the vision plan can talk about streamlining. I think it can talk about efficiency, but I really, speaking for both myself and Michael Lewis, we really want that term green tape removed entirely from the vision plan. It waves the flag that is very troublesome, both throughout the state of California with legislation that is attacking even the California Environmental Quality Act. So I think the vision plan can make its point well without using that term green tape, and we ask that that be removed. Thank you very much.
We have no further speakers online for item 9, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring you back to the board. Supervisor Cummings?
First, I want to thank you all on your hard work of standing up the Measure Q Community Oversight Advisory Board and all the work that's kind of taken us, that you all have had to do to get us to this point. Largely my questions are regarding the community grants process. And so I'm just wanting to speak to that a little bit more. So if you can walk us through maybe what that process is going to be like. For example, do we anticipate that grants or the applications and recommendations are going to go to the COAB for approval? Is that process supposed to come back to the board? Or is today kind of when we're making recommendations on that process? Because one of the concerns that I've had, similar to concerns that we had around CORE, is just the ability of the public to see when the recommendations come, like what were the applications, what were the scores, what were the comments, just so that there's transparency around why a certain selection was made in terms of the granting of funds to public projects. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that real quick.
Yeah, so the action before you today is really focused on the vision plan. What we heard from stakeholders and what we're hearing from you is similar questions around now what, right? What does the grant program look like? So we're working on that kind of in parallel to this process. We'll be bringing back some initial scaffolding to the COAB in mid-November. And we'll be working through that with the goal of issuing RFPs or requests for proposal likely in late December, early January. And so there'll be an opportunity probably to have a deeper discussion at that point. We're not prepared right now to give you all of the details on that. The measure, the first step is adoption of this vision plan.
So I guess then is this now an opportunity for us to give you all, since you're moving forward with that, would now be a good time for us to give recommendations as you're entering into that process? Because if not, is there going to be a time when it's going to come back to the board for us to give you those recommendations prior to the application to the grant process?
I think it would be appropriate to if you want to have additional direction as part of the adoption of the vision plan, to return to you with presentation on the scaffolding or the grant program before it goes live or after it goes live, but before grants are awarded. That might be a more appropriate way rather than receive direction right now as part of the vision plan adoption, if that makes sense.
And I guess what could the timing look like on that be? Because I mean, we're getting pretty close to December here. We've only got 2 more meetings in November. And so it seems like that there's going to be a really big time crunch if we're not going to give you that information today, to have you all come back and give us a presentation on the grant process and take input from us and then come back with how that input's been incorporated. So
yes, so it's at the discretion of the board whether you want us to come back in mid-November or early December or early January as you see fit. And obviously we can calibrate the launch of the program based on the feedback and based on the timing of that discussion.
And I just have a couple more questions. I'll have a couple comments so we can keep moving. I think you highlighted that, most of these projects are in South County through this initial round of funding. And it sounds like there's some, there's opportunities to have local matches. So it makes sense that we can maximize the dollars here during this time. But, I think that as we try to make sure that this process is equitable, I mean, when people start asking us questions about, hey, we just voted on this measure, why are we not seeing any dollars come into north part of the county? What can folks anticipate in terms of how we're going to make sure that moving forward, that there aren't going to be investments that are disproportionately going to one part of the county or the other? Because I understand that we want to be equitable and invest in, some communities that may have been historically not invested in. But then if we stop investing in other communities, then now we're currently not investing in certain communities and we're disproportionately, funding other communities, and that might impact future tax measures if people don't feel like they're seeing the return on that investment that they voted on.
Sure, it's a great question. I think it's really important for us to convey, and I know it's our intention as the implementers, the good work that is being done by Measure Q. And so part of that is an education to community about where some of those geographic consistent funding opportunities will always be. So there will always be a $600,000 investment in the San Vicente Redwoods in the North Coast, in the north part of our county. And there will always be an investment of a minimum of $600,000 in the Pajaro Valley, always, right? And then of the grant funds of that $1.2 million, that money will be we'll see where those grant opportunities come, like what solicited projects are listed, and we'll look at part of that geographic distribution is part of the component in the grant program. Again, lots of work needs to be done on the grant program. But this county allocation that is before you today is, again, an annual process. So there are opportunities each year to reflect on and focus that funding in areas where we feel like there's high need. So I think it's important for all of you to remind folks of those consistent investment areas so that they know that that's always happening. And then obviously it's our job when these projects get implemented, whether it be county projects or grant funded projects, that community in the vicinity of those locations knows that the money from Measure Q is being spent to do that work. So that will be part of the grant program, is there'll need to be a sign or some sort of recognition that this work was brought to you by Measure Q, much like Measure D in Public Works does. So I hope that that'll help convey to community how we're being good stewards of this tax revenue.
Appreciate that. Last comment I have is just want to appreciate again all the work that you all have done. I do think our board should consider having a report come back or a presentation come back on the grant process because I think some of the concerns that I've seen again through CORE and that people have expressed as wanting maximum amount of transparency. So for example, having an informal RFP process so that when the recommendations come, people can have access to the applications. They can understand why the recommendations were made and whether that's going to go to the COAB or come to us. I think there's interest in the COAB playing a role in reviewing applications. And, if you all send the recommendations, they can have access to the applications. If they can then vote with all the information present and that comes to us, I think that's going to be helpful. So, I'm happy to support staff recommendation along with having a report come back for discussion on the grant process no later than the second meeting in November. And I'll end my comments there. And then when it comes time, I'll have that be ready as a motion.
So if the board doesn't have any further comments, I do have some comments. Several of us did have some involvement in the Measure Q campaign, and part of my discussion with the voters in the 4th district was equity. Saying that, I want to say that I am 100% fully supportive of the Freedom Lake project, and I had mentioned that to folks in parks and folks and some of my colleagues. But I'm also at the same time extremely disappointed that Valle de Pájaro did not even make the unfunded list. I think if equity is any part of the criteria, Valle de Pájaro needs to be on that list. Part of the vision of Measure Q or the vision plan should explicitly list EDP Park, County Park, in addition to Paulson Road, as funding priorities through 2030. Both projects meet Measure Q goals and our vision plan of improving water resource management, wildfire risk reduction, parks, open space and recreation access, and wild habitat protection. Paulson Road floods yearly, disrupting over 4,000 daily trips and blocking access to 3 schools and the county fairgrounds and the evacuation center, and also the new park. Raising and drainage improvements would protect the vital emergency route. But with Valle del Pájaro, the first new county park in decades, it expands access for underserved Pajaro Valley residents and supports the Measure Q vision as well. So I would like to see that at the very least in the unfunded category. Supervisor Martinez.
Thank you, Chair. And I understand that we saw the presentation for item number 9 and 10, although we'll be voting on them separately and we'll be doing public comment on them separately. But given that we saw the presentation already, my comments are going to be on both items. And I just want to start off by thanking the leadership at the CEO's office in collaboration with OR3 and Parks to bring forward this item today, and working with the Community Oversight Advisory Board to develop and approve the vision plan for Measure Q. I also want to thank all of the stakeholders, both organizations and individuals who gave input to the COAB. And I'm very supportive of the vision plan, and I'm grateful to have a document that helps guide our future decision-making for these very, very valuable funds. Overall, I think it's a very strong and informative report from staff that's guided by a lot of process, good governance, and public engagement. And I think the evaluative principles and secondary prioritization categories represented in the report are strong, and the right priority projects have been identified for the next 5 years, which are water quality, wildfire prevention, and equitable access to parks. I do have a couple of questions based on the presentation that you have today. The first has to do with really watershed health projects. How might the watershed health priorities support the existing groundwater management agencies and their respective plans? For example, the Santa Margarita and Mid-County groundwater agencies have projects that don't have full funding schemes. Could this be a way to tackle some of those projects, assuming that those agencies could apply for funding?
Absolutely, yeah. We've been working really closely with Sierra Ryan on the creation of this vision plan, and she's been a great resource in that water space because she sits on or participates in both those agencies.
Thank you. Also, on your presentation, where there was both the list of the funded and unfunded presentations, I noticed that there was a reference to culvert project. I know the challenges with countywide culverts have come before our board a number of times, and I'm just wondering, I wouldn't by instinct think that all culverts would be eligible for this type of funding. Can you just clarify how you're thinking about that type of infrastructure project and Measure
I was
Q
actually
funds?
thinking the same thing, like, when are they going to eat? But I guarantee
Yeah, I think we're going to look,
you,
obviously we
they
have
are
a
gonna do
number of kind of
recess right before they
stormwater
get to a
management
question
culverts that are
item.
in need of repair. When a culvert fails, not only does it often take out a road, but it often contributes significant sedimentation into the underlying creek if it's an adjacent to a creek. So I think we're going to look thoughtfully at the locations of culverts and their condition assessment, which CDI has done. So the condition assessment is done, and try and align projects that may be eligible for Q that have the most both hazard mitigation, but also resilience and
Christopher said
habitat
he's on,
benefit, so that we're trying to improve,
he's trying to testify too.
where that water goes from its kind of stormwater conveyance.
So that's like 3
perspective
other
into
people
the
so far on our
watershed and
side.
water quality standards situations.
Thank you. So likely it's not like all the county-wide culvert challenges, but they're ones that have the environmental impact that you're speaking of.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there are some very, very large like fish passage culverts that could also be eligible. Those would need likely additional external funding, but oftentimes we're limited in being able to seek grants for some of those larger, more important habitat fish passage culvert replacements. And so Measure Q could be a local match for some of those as well.
Great, thank you. And for this particular grant process or grant program, are we really only looking at projects in the unincorporated areas? I understand that cities have their own allocation of funding. How are we thinking about the grant program as it relates to the various jurisdictions?
So the grant program, not the county allocation, but the grant program, cities in the county are also eligible for grants. So there could be opportunities where we align on a shared project with our city partners, and it may be inside, outside, adjacent to, or in both unincorporated and incorporated geographies. So I think there's an opportunity to look at ways to collaborate where appropriate. And I think one great example is some of the fuel break work done just behind this building, and opportunities where some of that work is being done in the unincorporated part of the county, but it's also benefiting the incorporated residents of the city of Scotts Valley. Obviously, that project is funded, but things like that could come up and be a collaborative opportunity for cities and county to seek grant funding or use their own allocations to further that work.
Thank you. And then how about the county funded priorities?
The county funding priorities does explicitly state that it needs to be spent in the unincorporated areas. So for that 20% or 1.4 million, then those should be for projects in the unincorporated areas of the county.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. My final comments are more related to the priorities that have been identified. I just, again, want to thank you for bringing forward 3 projects that I think really represent what the community was hoping for with Measure Q. You know, we're demonstrating to the South County community that they will receive their piece of the pie and that we are going to be investing in projects in South County, which was, you know, something that our community wants to see. And also, I am really pleased that several roads in the San Lorenzo Valley are identified for the vegetation removal project, including Bear Creek Road, China Grade Road, East Iante Road, Graham Hill Road, and Upper East Iante. These are critical evacuation routes and in some cases transportation arteries in this community. And we have, you know, unmanaged vegetation alongside of those roads. And so my hope is that you can complete the full 51 miles as slated in the project. And even more, my hope is that we can see this done before next fire season, because I think that'll really demonstrate to the community that we're putting these valuable public dollars to good use and including their safety as well. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Koenig?
Thank you, Chair. I don't have too many comments about the vision plan. I think it's sufficient and is a good guiding document. So because we're combining comments and questions about 9 and 10, most of my questions and comments do focus on 10. So the first is around the Freedom Lake project. I'm just sort of trying to understand what we're buying here. You talked about removing the acacia trees around the exterior of the lake. What are the sediment in the middle of the lake going to be removed?
So right now we're working with the technical advisory committee, and they're going to be advising us on what would be the next steps for the in-water remediation. Right now, this is for the upstream and around the lake removal of the invasive species. So the funding we've already spent
Craig, it started at
$150,000 towards some of these initial endeavors. We put together
it
this
started
TAC
at
committee
9,
working with Watsonville Wetlands Group,
but they
and
went
then
over
so
the
moving forward, it'll be
item
the permitting
agenda,
as well as
and
the
they're
removal of
supposed to go
those
back over it
around the
at
lake
the end
and
of.
upstream invasive.
There was quite a
Like
few
I
people who
mentioned,
were
it's a multi-year
testifying.
project, and so
So they're going to go back over it
in-water
after
work
agenda
will be in
number
subsequent
15,
years. It
which
won't be a
they're on
part
like
of
9
this
and 10
project
right
this year.
now. So I'm not sure when they're going to
Okay.
allow
I
public
suppose
comment
that's
for agenda
really
12
where you
yet.
get to the value of the project. I mean, and I would want to see that quantified as well. I mean, how much water could this lake potentially hold? Is this actually a good spot for aquifer recharge? You know, I mean, maybe we learned some of that with the Corralitos Creek modeling, because I assume this is in the Corralitos Creek watershed. But yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I had to Google where Freedom Lake is. And I grew up in Corralitos, and so I was sort of like, oh yeah, the mud flat there. I don't know that just clearing the trees around
You got time, you can call in and
area is
testify,
going to be
though.
all that much of
Yeah,
a
there's
sort
plenty
of
of time
showcase
for that.
project
Yeah.
for us.
A lot.
I don't think, you know, maybe with more money, if it's actually improved as a lake itself, it could get there. But in the short term, I'm not really sure that it's going to be a highly visible project that demonstrates the utility of Measure Q. I mean, how much, do we have any sense of how much it's going to cost to actually do the full project here?
The full project cost estimate is around $3 million. And so this moving forward in the next year, it would be removal of those trees. And I appreciate you noting that you didn't know where it was, because most people don't. And that's one of the highly visible values that we find in this project, is that people will start recognizing that there's, you know, natural resources somewhere that they've been driving past for years. And then it'll also help with the biotic studies, completing those, which we've already started that process. And it'll allow us to know what kind of is the best remediation for the invasive aquatic plants, which are both at the surface and subsurface. So we have to analyze and see what would be the best case for removing both types of invasive.
I mean, that certainly was a question that came to my mind as well. I mean, if we start digging up the lake, are we going to be releasing as much carbon as has been stored in the lake, you know, to date? I mean, you read about peat bogs, for example, being a great carbon sink. I don't know if the same would be true here. But in any case, there's obviously pluses and minuses to the project. I mean, will the project apply for matching funds or other funds from the grant portion of Measure Q? You mentioned Coastal Conservancy as a potential, donor.
Yeah, so we're hoping that this work will help kind of exemplify what the possible outcome of this could be. Obviously, if we remove a lot of the shade over the lake, that could change the, dynamic of the lake as well. So you're right in that there's things ahead of us that we may not understand yet that we'll need to work on. But really, it's I'm quite confident. We've already been encouraged by the California Coastal Conservancy to submit a pre-app for Prop 4 funds for Freedom Lake, as well as we had a really great meeting with Wildlife Conservation Board on wanting us to submit an application for them as well. So I'm very confident that not only will this allow the public to visibly see Measure Q funds at work, but it'll also show as a good match to those different agencies in making it a really good candidate for Prop 4 funds moving forward.
People will definitely notice that the trees are cut down around the lake. I don't know that they'll be excited by what they see until the whole project is done. I think, some of the feedback I've received, more and more people in our county are becoming fiscally conservative because they have no other choice. Because their fire insurance has increased 20x
To be
in recent
honest,
years.
they
So
haven't given off
this
any
is
vibe at
this
all.
money
It's literally
that we've
just
sort
been
of
like
we've got
public
here
comment.
for
They haven't
community
even
risk
like read
reduction.
the agenda
It's really
items.
essential that we operate with the assumption that we could see another
So
catastrophic
it's hard to
wildfire within the
say.
next year. I mean, I had a lot of people telling me, "Oh my God, I don't feel good about this year." This is, so we have to operate from that sense of urgency and use every available dollar we have to reduce community risk, because when it happens, we need to show that we've done everything we can to limit its impact. If you look at every, you look at like even CAL FIRE's risk reduction plan, they talk almost exclusively about roads, right? Because they're really a great fire break as well as emergency evacuation. So I'm glad that we have a component in here for evacuation routes. But I do think that we could extend it to more of the roads within the county. I mean, right now we really only do any vegetation management along our roads every 3 years for every road in the county. It's a 3-year rotating cycle, which is really not enough. So that's one component. The other thing that I'm consistently asked by constituents, like, hey, did the county give up on the mowing program? No, you're next year, you're 2 years from now, still doing it, just not as frequently as we would like. So that's one thing that comes to mind. The other is I have to thank Supervisor Martinez for her brilliant idea to provide a free green waste turn-in day or whatever, basically free day at the dump to turn in green waste. It was actually a remarkably effective program. I had lots of constituents ask when it would be extended for D1 residents as well. And I mean, the stats on that were really good. I mean, it basically increased almost 300% the amount of green waste turned in during the month of August. That's pretty remarkable. And so it's a reminder that our biggest community asset are the community members themselves. The fact that we've gone from like 10 to 100 Firewise communities within the last few years. And so any investment that we can make that actually leverages the man and woman power of everyone out there who wants to do this work and gives them, one more reminder to do it, I think is extremely valuable and would be worthwhile. So that's another thing that I think would be would really help to be a highly visible and highly noticed investment of some of these dollars would be more free yard waste disposal countywide. I mean, obviously we'd start to see diminishing returns from that as people actually did the work, but I mean, I can see at least and I think the cost for August was about $20,000 for just District 5. So I think it was every Saturday of the month for 4 or 5 Saturdays in August. So I think an investment of around like $100,000 to $200,000 for free yard waste disposal for the county would go a long way. Those are some of my thoughts. I personally think we should, I think we could keep moving forward the Freedom Lake proposal. I'd be happy to put like $100,000 of the county money towards it as a local match. It should apply for the grant funds for Measure Q. We obviously can continue to go after the Coastal Conservancy funds and Prop 4 funds
I hope
as
so.
suggested. I think we should also put $100,000 to $200,000 towards free yard waste disposal countywide for a program next year. And I think we should continue to allocate $75,000 for Corliss Creek watershed flood modeling. That's great. And I think we should allocate about $500,000 towards expanded mowing services on county roads. Happy to make that motion.
Thank you. Supervisor Serpa?
Thank you. Thank you for all the work on this vision plan. I asked my representative there, Dennis Webb, who is not only a certified forester, runs his family's business with his mom, Big Creek Lumber, but also is president of the Farm Bureau. So he's got a lot of areas of expertise. He understands resource conservation. He understands wildfire risk mitigation. He understands the importance of agriculture, et cetera, in our community. And he's been keeping my office abreast of the forward motion of the vision plan group, the oversight committee. So I feel very comfortable in accepting the recommendations that are before us today. Each of us has our own special things that we want to accomplish for our constituents in our district. This money was truly designed to be a big sum that could pull down match grants. And I think that was Carlos Palacios' vision for this, was that the money that comes in is not just money that we give here and there, but that it could actually be used to pull down other big pots of money. So thank you for that foresight. This is an investment in an area that has not been invested in a long time. I know that Zach Friend, while he was still in this seat, gave some discretionary money to start the process of making that Freedom Lake area better. If you don't know where it is, it's on Freedom Boulevard right next to, I think it's called Scott Park. And it is completely overgrown with invasive species, including in the water, which is actually sucking all the water, oxygen out of the water and making it impossible for fish and amphibians and other creatures to exist there. So we've got to do something to help the wildlife in that area. It's actually a huge, well, I don't know about huge, but it's quite a sizable body of water, and you can't really tell until you're there and you walk around it. So for all the creatures that rely on that lake, I think this is a good investment. Although it is in my district, to start, I thank you to the group that decided that. Next year, it'll be someone else's district, but we've got to start somewhere. And so I thank you for all of your efforts, and I hope we can pull down some big money. And I hope my counterparts will support the vision as it is in front of us today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do appreciate that that Freedom Lake was on there. I have to say it's like it's an invasive plant that's growing over the water, actually, the entire lake. I remember even just like 25 years ago, that park was completely full of hundreds of people that would visit that park, and it's mostly empty except for the playground now. There would be a lot of folks actually from South County that would go to that park because there's such little park space in South County, and they would go there for their barbecues, for their 15s and for different anniversaries. And it always, I remember there would always be like hundreds of kids running around the lake. So I'm glad that that's on there, because I think people will make the drive from South County to there once it's up and running. But again, for one of the things I would like to see on the unfunded list is Valle del Pajaro. And I will be working on that both with staff and the co-op committee as well. I'll be attending more of those meetings, I think. And having further discussions with staff about Valle del Pajaro funding opportunities, what's the vision for it, and why it's not on the list. With that, I'll bring it back to the board here with Supervisor Cummings.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I just want to acknowledge some of the concerns I heard some of my fellow colleagues bring up, and just want to remind the community, I think our board is well aware that, you know, in the past, we really were limited in the amount of discretionary funds that our offices had. Passage of Measure K, there's a specific carve out of $200,000 that I advocated that, you know, it's for environments and for park related programs. And that money is now within the board office as discretionary funds. Additionally, when Measure Q passed, I also advocated that, hey, we should at least have some funding for our offices to be able to spend on what we want. We have an additional $100,000. And then in addition to that, we had the empty cup tax, which passed a number of years ago, which allocates another $10,000 in discretionary funds to our offices. So we have about $310,000 worth of, you know, money that we can spend on very specific projects within our offices. I know that Supervisor Martinez has used some of that for her chipping program, which really just makes the case that we can fund that through the funding that we have in our offices. And I think that when it comes to some of these projects that maybe are outside of the scope of the funding that is being proposed today, that we do have funds that we could use specifically within our districts. And so my hope is that while today, you know, I'm going to be recommending that we move forward with the staff's recommendation, that we also think about how we could leverage the funding that we currently get, whether it's to leverage to get more funding or to put towards specific projects in our district, that we're continuing to work with our community so we can address some of those issues. And I know that in my district, we're moving forward with a number of projects, Sharksfin Cove, Cement Plant Road. There's a number of access projects that we're using these funds for. And so I think there is funding that we can use outside of what's being proposed today to really accomplish some of the additional goals that have been brought up in this meeting. And so I guess my only big concern, I think staff has heard some of the concerns from Supervisor Hernandez about other projects that may need to be added to the list. And so with that, I'm just going to move the recommended action with the additional direction that we have a presentation on the grant process for board approval to come back to the board no later than the second meeting in November.
Second meeting in November or December? Just to get clarity on that.
There's only one meeting in December, so I guess.
Dude, I
we can
think
say the
they're
first
just
meeting
now
in
voting
December.
on 9.
I would just add that I know that the co-op has really wanted to give feedback and be able to work with us on it. And we're not meeting with the co-op, I think, until November 19th for our initial kind of outline of that program.
I'll even say the first meeting in January. How about that? Give you some time.
Sounds like a great day.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion and from Supervisor Cummings and a second from Supervisor DeSerpa.
And to clarify, this is for the recommended actions for item 9.
Yes.
What was that? Oh, yes, for item 9.
Supervisor Koenig,
Aye.
Martinez,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
DeSerpa,
Aye.
and Hernandez.
Aye. That passes unanimously.
So yeah, now it's public comment for 10 and then you guys can take.
So now we're moving
Is that
to item
orders?
10. You've basically already had a staff presentation on that item. If staff has anything else they want to add on 10, if not, you would go to public comment on item 10.
So I'll now open it up for item 10 for public comment. Anybody wishing to address this board? Anybody online?
Yes, Chair, one moment, please. Mariah, your microphone's now available.
Thank you so much. Hello, Chair Hernandez and supervisors. Thank you for your service. My name is Mariah Roberts. I'm Executive Director of Your County Park Friends. Thank you. I'm here to say thank you for your support of the COAB. for your support of the vision plan you just passed for Measure Q, and for supporting the Parks and OR3 staff who have worked so hard on this rollout. I also want to thank each of you in advance for the direction of the discretionary funds for each of your districts. We have seen that investment of discretionary funds is impactful. As Supervisor Cummings mentioned just now, each of you has invested significant Measure K funds for great impact, and I'm sure you'll do the same with Measure Q. I'm here to comment in support of item 10 staff proposal for use of for how to use the county allocation of funds. In particular, I want to highlight the fact that the projects proposed today strike a balance across the priority impact areas, and they are shovel ready to ensure impactful public benefit. With that in mind, it is exciting to County Park friends and partners that each year will bring new opportunities to invest. And I'm excited to see how the planning can consider multi-year projects that may not have been ready and shovel ready for consideration at this particular moment in time. I think each of you spoke to that. Measure Q, along with the 5-year vision plan, offers a unique opportunity to begin considering over time strategic partnerships and long-term leveraging. So thank you for your support of the proposal. Thank you for your stewardship of these funds on behalf of the voters who passed Measure Q with 60% plus support.
Jean, your microphone is now available.
This is Jean Brocklebank speaking for myself and Michael Lewis. We want to take one moment to say that we really appreciate the meetings of the Citizen Advisory Oversight Board. Supervisor Martinez will be interested to know that the presentation by Sierra Ryan at one meeting was especially informative. The Oversight Board, OR3, and park staff were always willing to listen and to address our concerns. We felt included and engaged in a very transparent meeting process, even if we didn't get everything we wanted. Now on to item number 10. We support the $75,000 Corralitos Creek Watershed Flood Modeling Forecasting Tool project. Regarding the wildfire risk and reduction and evacuation route vegetation management project, we do have concerns about the extent of so-called hazardous vegetation clearing, since this can adversely harm wildlife habitat. Bats, birds, and beneficial insects nest in so-called dead and dying trees. So clear-cutting roadside vegetation can eliminate habitat used by hundreds of wildlife species. Finally, we are equivocal about the amount proposed for the Freedom Lake Restoration Project, as mentioned by Supervisor Koenig. That said, this project will restore degraded wetlands and improve water quality. Acacia is a very thirsty species. Presumably native trees, if any, will be saved. So we are glad that this project is included. Thank you.
There'd be some dedicated people in this community.
Dude, they be sitting on this son bitch all day. Yeah.
Calling user 3, your microphone's now available.
I also want to raise problems with the restoration, clearing for fires, etc. Because I've read this excessive clearing of all the brush not only destroys habitat for creatures, but like creates a wind tunnel for fires. I live off of Freedom Boulevard and have been appalled recently at the clear cutting of, I'm not sure what kind of trees, some acacia, right by the high school on Freedom Boulevard, not far from the freeway exit. And further going down Freedom Boulevard, who is overseeing, or for what documented purpose is all of this massive removal of trees and habitat. It's like trees have been turned into the enemy, whereas we need trees for beauty, oxygen, shade, habitat, nature. I think this is, and also not looking at the geoengineering aspects of fires. And to find out more, geoengineeringwatch.org. That aspect needs to be examined, and the negative impacts of geoengineering, weather modification, removed. Thank you.
I see no further speakers online, Chair.
With that, I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Martinez?
Thank you. Based on the previous comments from Supervisor Koenig, I'm hoping you could help me understand where, so the $720K for the Freedom Project is a very specific number. Is it aligned with a match? Is there a certain RFP that came in saying that's how much we need, or was that kind of, that's what was left of the pot that we're allocating to a priority that, could use more, could use less if we scaled down?
Yeah, I think that the thought is that we wanted to, again, highlight three, a water resource, a fuel reduction, and a park project. And so this 6 months into this fiscal year, we were trying to program the majority of the funds. And so when we identified the other two projects, we gave the majority of the funding to Freedom Lake just because the cost of that entire project exceeds the amount available.
Great. And so it sounds like, if there was an opportunity to allocate even just a small amount of that, you're going to continue to make progress on that project. You're going to continue to seek funds for the full $3 million, and future years may also help to support that. And so just given that, and also just given the hope that we're proposing with shovel-ready projects, I can just speak to the green waste removal as something that is shovel-ready because it's using our existing, why can't they're called the transfer station staff and public works staff. And so it doesn't take additional planning. I mean, it takes additional planning for the dates and whatnot, but it's not a huge lift, I can tell you that. And so I would be open if a supervisor was interested in proposing even, a portion, 100,000, 150, 200 of those funds for something that could be felt across all county residents, such as the Green Waste Program. That's pretty easy to get off the ground, while continuing to give the bulk of this funding to the Freedom Project. It is a county priority, and continuing to demonstrate that investment in future years as funding for this project comes before the board. So just sort of sharing my thoughts on that, but willing to hear what my colleagues think as well.
Supervisor Cummings? Oh, sorry.
I guess what I say is that, each one of us gets a $100,000 allocation. And so if we wanted to have a program like that in our area, that each one of us could put our $100,000 towards something like that. I think the important thing for these, and I will say that slicing off $500,000, while it might be a constituent pleaser, it's often better if that money actually stayed together because we'd get more bang for the buck on these projects. So I think there's already been thoughtful discussion, not only with our own staff, but with the COAB about these recommendations. And I would like to support the recommendations that have come in as they are. So I'll be very happy to make a motion, but I'd like to hear some discussion.
Supervisor Cummings?
Yeah, I'll just say that if we were to deviate from the current recommendations, I mean, that I think would be a broader discussion about what we would, if we're going to not move in this direction, what do we see as priorities? Because I do know that our Firewise Council has come into a scenario where they've spent money and the feds, because of the shutdown, have held up their budgets, and they would very much, I think, like us to help backfill their budgets to help them stay afloat as well. I mean, they're potentially looking at losing, I think, their director as part of this process because of some of the funding constraints that have happened there. And so given the fact that Firewise communities are making a huge impact in terms of working with residents to do vegetation reduction, would we want to instead use those fundings there? And I think that we could get in this huge, long debate today about where we'd want to prioritize different lots of funding. But I think to Supervisor DeServis' point, to the point I made earlier, I mean, we do have funding in our own budgets. If we want to spend it on, green waste management, then we can take a portion of our funds and spend it on that. And we can work across the board, to see if we wanted to collectively take $20,000 out of our own budgets, spend it on waste management. But what's before us today, I think, if we weren't going to move in this direction, we would need to have an item come back with all of us making recommendations on how we'd want to reallocate money. And then, where do we stop if we take $100,000 out for vegetation management? Do we take another $100,000 out and give it to the Firewise councils? And I'm sure there's other people who might be coming forward with recommendations for how we'd want to reallocate that money. But to Supervisor DeServis' point, I mean, I think that the staff's worked on identifying projects that have been in the queue, that we've started making investments in. We can make a lot of progress with the funding we have right now, and it's not going to stop us next year from being able to determine how we want to spend future funds. But I think, with the goal of moving forward with Measure Q allocations, I think this is the appropriate thing for us to do right now, with the understanding that when we have allocations in the future, we can have this discussion again on how we want to prioritize that funding. So it's not the end of, it's not like this is the only money we're ever going to be able to spend. I mean, this is funding that we will have in perpetuity to spend on these kinds of issues. And this is just the first year of our allocation. We can come back in the future and discuss other allocations. So I'm going to support staff recommendation as has been written today.
Chair.
Yeah, well, I just want to mention that, I did have some reservations, but I think that part of the intent of Measure Q is to put identify at least one, maybe two of these projects that we put a large chunk of amount into. And the following year, we'll identify others within different districts. I know in the top three, I don't have any in my district, but, I'm willing to, make sure that we do what we intended to do to put that big chunk into some identified projects that the committee and staff work on. Supervisor Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say one comment about this idea that, we take part of the, actually, first of all, thank you, Supervisor Cummings, for the suggestion that we have the discretionary portion of these funds within each district. And I think that that's a fantastic way to approach some equality countywide, and ensures that each one of us, who I'm sure has many great projects they can think of within their district, is going to have the opportunity to execute on some of those. I will say one thing about the idea that, we should all just carve off whatever $20,000 for free green waste days from that portion of the funds. I think the difference is that the number of constituents we're trying to service and the amount of infrastructure that we're trying to service based on the unincorporated population, right? I mean, we're really talking about an inverse where we have some of our districts where they're 10% unincorporated population and others that are 90% unincorporated like mine. And so I look at trying to how to allocate that $100,000 in discretionary monies. I mean, the list is just really, really long. And so I think it makes more sense as far as our ability to market this service countywide, to engage all the Firewise communities, to have a comprehensive program, so that way, if only 3 out of 5 of us decide that that's what we want to do with the discretionary money, just the marketing of that would be difficult. Whereas there is a value if we all move forward together. So given that, I will move the recommended actions with an amendment to item 1, the project selection, with the following funding amounts: $520,000 for Freedom Lake, $200,000 for free yard waste disposal days or other priorities identified to engage the Firewise communities, $80,000 for evacuation route vegetation trimming to fulfill the FEMA match requirement, and $75,000 for the Corralitos Creek watershed flood modeling and forecasting tool.
Second.
Sorry.
I do have a question for staff. So given that the motion takes money out of the allocation for Freedom Lake, can you talk about what the outcome of that might do to the project?
It'll certainly slow the project down. I don't anticipate that it will lessen our ability to remove a lot of the invasive acacia trees. But in its entirety, I'm not sure that it will get there. But as I stated, I mean, right now we're underfunded for that project as it is. And so utilizing future grant funds as well as any Measure Q funds that we could put towards the project is what we're going for.
Could I add a little bit of clarity too? I think the recommendation to add and create a more robust countywide free green waste day program is something that you would likely as a board want to carry forward every year. And so what is being proposed right now is that 50% of the county's allocation of $1.4 million every year would be either at your discretion or for this consistent program. So that does start to really constrain our ability to do impactful projects with the county's allocation. What may be good is to have a pilot to expand the program to understand the full costs of running a quote countywide program. This 5th District Supervisors Program was a pilot. So we have some initial funding estimates for the first kind of iteration of that. But we will be returning to your board during budget process to allocate funds for next fiscal year. So perhaps there's an opportunity to do an additional expanded pilot program for the free green waste as was recommended or suggested by board members within your district allocation. And then once we have a better sense of what that program might cost, then you could decide at your discretion to create an annual carve out of that county allocation for that kind of a program. Or just for your consideration.
Oh, thank you. I've been, I think it's important that we do stick with the intent of how we're supposed to fund these projects. We already took a big chunk out for our own discretion. And so I think that it is even more critical that we follow staff recommendation to keep that 700 in place so we can do these bigger projects. And we'll eventually get to different districts and different projects on that list, maybe even add some things onto that list. But I'm not going to be supporting the motion. Supervisor Cummings?
Yeah, with that being said, and just looking at the time, I'm going to make a substitute motion that we move the recommended actions and we direct staff to bring back information on a countywide green waste program during the budget for consideration.
I'll second.
So we have an alternative motion from Supervisor Cummings and a second from Supervisor De Serpa. If there's any further questions, can we take a vote?
Supervisor.
The motion is moving the staff recommendation and directing staff to bring back information on the countywide green waste program during the budget for consideration. So free chipping program.
Oh my God. So they're not going to get to
Supervisor
this
Koenig.
way after their scheduled break.
After lunch,
Martinez,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
De Serpa,
Aye.
and Hernandez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item passes with one dissenting vote from Supervisor Koenig.
I guess depending on how
We're
long
gonna
their
push
break
through this
is,
next
we
item
could
before
just
we
come
go
back.
to
I don't know
our
how long
break,
their lunch is
and then
going
come
to be.
back for our scheduled item at 1:30. The item is number 11. Yes, number 11. As the Board of Directors of Santa Cruz County Redevelopment Successor Agency adopt a resolution authorizing the negotiated sale of previously authorized tax allocation bonds to refund bonds of the successor agency, approving the execution and delivery of the bond purchase agreement and preliminary official statement, and providing all related matters and take related actions. I'll turn it over to Susan Harrell, County Municipal Advisor, and Kim Namba, Senior Department Administrative Analyst, for the brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Kim Namba, staff for the
I'm trying to
Redevelopment
see if
Successor
Riverside
Agency, and
voted
with
or
me is
not.
Suzanne Harrell, bond
I'm trying to
consultant.
find it.
She will be doing the presentation.
Because if that's the case, then we could just end this and then go watch the
Thank
Riverside.
you. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. This presentation will be a little, if you're feeling a little deja vu, it's because we discussed this back in February. There's a process for refinancing debt of the successor agency since the dissolution of redevelopment in 2012. And it includes first an approval by the successor agency, then an approval by your county oversight board, and then finally an approval by the Department of Finance. And this takes a period of time, and it can usually take about 90 to 100 days for approval. So in February of 2025, our successor agency board approved refinancing of 2 of your outstanding tax allocation bonds. The county oversight board approved it in March, and the Department of Finance finally approved it towards the end of April. The county policy for refinancing requires the savings must be at least 4%.
Yeah, Marcel, it looks like that's
And
the
in
case.
February, the
'Cause,
savings were
they go to
estimated to be
lunch
quite a bit higher
at
than that.
1:30, or
But by
the next
time of the
item or
DOF
whatever is at
approval in
1:30
April, market
or
conditions had
1:45.
changed.
Hell, I don't know.
And the savings on to refinance the
So yeah,
2016
after
series
that,
of bonds was not expected to meet the 4%.
yeah, 1:30 is
4%
their.
threshold. So we proceeded with the refinancing of the 2015 bonds and achieved.
And
an
then that's
85% savings.
14 is the next scheduled item.
This chart
14
just
and
kind of gives
15,
you
and then
a
supposedly
little
after 15,
snapshot
we're
of
gonna go
what
lower.
happened to the market from the time you approved the financing in February. And then in April, this was all the tariff information that was coming out, and the market really reacted poorly to that. And you can see now rates have come down to a level, back to a level that supports the refinancing of the 2016 bonds. No further action of the Oversight Board of the DOF is necessary to proceed, so you're able to actually quickly move this time and take advantage of the current market conditions. This chart just shows the potential savings. They're very similar to what we were hoping for back in February, and we fully expect to be able to achieve it at this time. So the recommended action is to approve the resolution, which authorizes a distribution of the preliminary official statement, execution of a bond purchase agreement, to sell the bonds at negotiated sale so that we can quickly take advantage of market conditions. And the savings do have to still exceed at least 4%.
Are you on the Riverside thing? Can you try to help me find it?
With that, I'll bring it out to the public to see if anybody wishes to address us on this item. Anybody online?
I see no speakers online, Chair.
I'll bring it back to the board for questions, or
I'll move the recommended action.
Second.
we have a motion from Supervisor Cummings and a second from Supervisor
It'd be
Supervisor
Riverside County.
Martinez.
I have a question for staff. So I know counties are rated like A, AAA, A+. Can you just talk about what our rating? I mean, I saw it in the backup, but I want to be really clear about what our rating is as a.
So the county has a general obligation bond rating of AAA and a lease revenue bond rating of AA+. The redevelopment agency bonds are actually rated A+ because they are secured by a separate revenue stream, which has no flexibility. You know, there's nothing the county can do for budgetarily or any other to impact the revenues.
They're going for an hour.
Service. So it's rated completely separately from the general fund of the county.
Because I know we get a better rate.
Yeah, well, then there ain't
the
no
higher rating the county
reason.
has, correct?
That's right.
And do we
Yeah,
have the
they're gonna
highest
stop
rating there
recording.
is?
The county general fund has the highest rating.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor DeSerpa.
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Martinez?
Aye.
Koenig?
Aye.
And Hernandez.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. We'll take a recess for closed session and come back out for the scheduled item at 1:30.
And there's nothing reportable for closed session.
Okay. back here, but I'm gonna go get some.
So pretty much they're going to lunch.
Yeah. And then supposedly when they come back, it'll be items 14 and 15 because 14 and 15 are scheduled items.
Okay.
So I guess we'll come back live then. I can't find Riverside.
I can't find it on the agenda. Yeah, so we'll come back then because I need to go eat something as well.
Yeah, well, my son's gonna come home and blah blah blah. But so we'll be back in an hour then.
Yeah, we'll come back whenever they start back up.
All right.
Bye, everybody.